pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our agenda today. Minutes from October 2nd and 26th. President's remarks, General Manager's report, public comment, old business, board budget guidance, approval of Bill Cordwell, new business none, CPI actions still none, appointments, one person to the clubs committee, media questions and adjournment. Do I have any additions to the agenda?
Yes, sir. I have a motion for the yacht club kitchen equipment, please.
Put that under budget guidance and the board business.
Yeah, Tom, Tom, I had a motion table at the last meeting. Right. I'll bring that back for reconsideration. I've done some amending to that and like a final consideration on that.
Not okay, Mr. President. Parliamentarian, I don't mind we would bring it back on the table as far as
It's on the agenda to do that.
okay.
One last thing.
Yes.
Resolution F01, investment guidelines, OPA operating funds and reserve funds for first
Division. First reading. Anything else? Okay, let's move to the minutes. Wednesday, October 2nd. Any changes, adjustments, corrections?
Yes, I think so. I can find them. Page 2, they reference John. We have wrong Johns. John Wetzelberg. Under my comments on page 2, a third line, complimented John Trumpauer for attending other committee meetings as John Wetzelberger.
Anything else? Any other changes? Motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Regular board meeting, Saturday, October 26th. Any changes or adjustments? Corrections?
Yes, one other typo. On page 3, Caroline Drizga is Carolyn, Caroly. Drizga.
Thank you. Anything else? Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, I'm going to step aside just for a second. Sharon, I believe we've lost one of our residents recently, a rather well-known veteran in our community. I think you know him.
Yes, Colonel Brenner, Bob Brenner, actually, I don't think he was an Ocean Pines resident, was very involved with our Veterans Memorial in Ocean Pines. And he was he wasn't a founding member, he was on the activities committee. He also worked with the children as a liaison and a docent. He was always there helping with a great program. Kids loved to hear his stories. He was a World War II D-Day survivor and survivor of the Battle of the Bulge. Fascinating man, quite an interesting life. And
the remarks, I want to draw folks' attention to the new website. If you have not had a chance to get online and see it, I recommend you highly that you do so. A lot of the discussions, as you know, we promised, the website slowed us down a bit, but all the information about the yacht club is on there. It's under the projects tab, And it's on the Forms and Documents sub-tab. To that, you'll see all of the information that we as a board members have received in these meetings and discussions. So all of that information is on the website as we promised done. But just as important is just the implementation of the new website. It's got a search feature to it. If you're looking for a topic, looking for a name, you can put in the search, put that in there, it'll take you right to it on the website. So it's a lot easier to find information on this website than it was. We have had a few people write into Teresa with some suggested changes, minor things here and there that need to be updated, which she's happy to have. I just talked to her. Things are going well. But I highly recommend folks take a look at the new website. I think it will be a big plus for our communications with our members. Again, it's a lot easier to traverse, a lot easier to find information you're looking for than before.
I'd like to reiterate, too, that Teresa is very receptive. So if you see something that's not right, it's not loading quickly enough, or it's whatever, please let her know. And she's been really good. So thanks, Teresa, for all your efforts.
Okay. General Manager.
Mr. Jones, is that me?
That's you.
A lot to cover. I'll try to go at a relatively good pace.
Thank you, Bob.
Absolutely. All right, some things. We'll start with the yacht club. I'll give you some updates on the yacht club facility. Can you guys see it already? You want the satellites? Am I okay? Recent, I thought I'd give the last couple of weeks update on some of the work that's been completed for those that may not see it. 4 through 8 November, finished first floor joist and floor sheathing on the second floor. Started second floor wall framing, approximately 50% complete. Now this was between the week of November 4th and November 8th. Finished the marina retaining wall. Started facing on the first floor exterior, approximately 25% complete. Completed fire and domestic water hookups to the building, conducted and passed county fire marshal hydro flow test Wednesday the 6th. Accelerating to the next week, second floor wall framing were 95% complete last week. Second floor wall sheathing 30% complete. Trusses prep began setting Friday. Had a little delay last week. I don't know if you all remember where we had that rain, the ice rain storm. So they pulled off the job because it was getting slick on that second floor. But they got back to it and they made up some time. They came in on Saturday to make up that lost time. And they're setting floor joists. And I've got some pics here to show you some of the joists that are going up for those who have not been able to go down and see the facility directly. Pretty exciting when you start pulling them together, and all this information that I'm showing you here we do have on the website. Thought that was a pretty cool picture. You're actually getting a view of what's starting to happen out there. And this is where they're starting to go ahead and put the plumbing in now. So we're very, very excited about the project and where things are moving. I do want to hit a light for this because you all have seen this, but not everyone has. I thought I'd go ahead and do it at the meeting. These are some slides we went through quickly yesterday.
Take it down, Bob.
What's that?
Take it down one more. You can see it.
Thank you. I won't be long with this, but this was shared with you all yesterday. I thought I'd bring it back up today because we do make some choices with color and tile. But this is coming into the first floor of the facility. Recall, you'd be coming down the long hallway this way, and directly forward would be the water. Just to give you some idea. If you looked out that side, that would be the side of the building where the pool is. This is, again, a little further back, same angle. Pool's over here. Bar would be off this front corner. And this rotates just a little bit more. So if you'll notice, the colors are a little bit different here than they were yesterday on the TV screen. So they change based on which how we're projecting it out. We do have the color boards in the boardroom. You guys have looked. Dan, you did not see these yesterday.
Yeah, just the ceiling color, is it really black?
It's a dark, yeah, and these colors are not true. They're a little bit lighter than what they show here on the projection. But yes, the ceiling, they recommend going with the dark acoustical tile for the first floor. I'll show you the second floor doesn't have acoustical tile.
I apologize for stopping you.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Second question, lighting at the ceilings. What is this?
Recessed, yes, and they just didn't have them in yet because they're still working with the electrician. We'll have the opportunity to modify those a little.
This would be our.
Correct. And these, and unfortunately, I didn't bring the board over, but this was of the boards. It was the middle board when we first showed it, and in particular attention, this tile looks a lot lighter on that middle board. Remember yesterday when we actually looked at the piece of tile, so it looks pretty dark here. But the important ones when we get to the second floor, the recommendation was for the darker flooring, and as we talked about yesterday, when people walk across it and scuffs up, hardwood floor, a little bit darker is going to hide those scuffs. They won't be as visible. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on that seal, Bob, I think you know my wife plays bridge 3-4 times a week, and the bridge ladies want to know about sound insulation in the ceiling.
Well, since they're going to be there dining and not playing bridge,
Okay.
Bridge will stay either here or over at the country club. We don't intend to have bridge over here at this point.
So there is no sound insulation in the...
Well, no. That's why we're going acoustical from the first floor to second. If you recall, we have tile here, so you're going to have some travel, and that's why they're recommending acoustic. And it's a good question, because if you remember yesterday we talked a little bit about it. We're about 9 feet height here. So probably good looking up here. It's kind of like this, but the tiles are a little heavier. They'll absorb more of the sound.
Okay.
Second floor, okay, we're coming down the hallway, and the water is out here. One thing I want to make sure you see, the doors here, something that's important for those who may not know, when you're looking at these doors, these are actually slider doors. So this door would open here, that door would open there, and you'd have a big 8-foot open. Same on the first floor. So that was something that we liked. Across that whole front, you're going to be able to open that up and take a real good look outside. All right, you're coming down the hallway. We just got off the elevator. We come up to the second floor. We're walking down the hall. Hostess station, in between these two columns, you would walk down to the bathroom, the bride and groom suite you can access from down that corridor. Now we've rotated. Now we're standing inside the facility looking back. Hostess area, that's the corridor I was referring to. This is the big open area. The bar would actually be outside these doors. That tower that stands, we've got 2 towers, that's the side where the bar would be. The doors here, if you recall, this whole area back here, and it's an L shape, it actually, when it hits this bar wall, it goes back this way. That's actually open up double doors for storage, big round tables for banquets. So that's been thought of, and that's in there. Again, we've rotated a little bit. Same, we're looking at those doors. The pool's out this side. These are the doors as you look coming through the hallway. These are the doors in and out of the kitchen. There's also another door for the kitchen right around the other side of this column. So if kitchen staff can access and walk out this way, so they don't always have to come out this way. Again, the floor looks a little darker here than the actual sample, but it's the color variation. Tall ceilings, they're actually drywall ceilings or gypsum board ceilings, cupola up top with the surround with all the windows, and then the chandelier will be hanging down. Slightly different angle. So I think, Dan, these were the things you were looking for at the meeting a week ago at the working session. You wanted to have some visual context to it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The colors are a little greenish on here. They're actually, if you recall in the sample boards, they're actually more beige. They're more neutral colors. The pixels are just a little off your projector. The gray is just the shadow. Okay? Am I good with that? Okay. Let me give you some other updates on the yacht club. There we go. All right. Yeah, it might be passing. Oh, I'm sorry, I separated them. Yeah, take one, pass it down, please. All right, what I'm handing out are the actual documents, same thing, one and down. The dashboards, the agenda, and meeting summaries from the Yacht Club implementation team. These materials have also been put up on the website. Okay, so if you guys have hard copies, but if anybody wants to see them, they're actually on our new website. Dashboard, you'll notice we handed you two for the first time. If you recall, the board had requested to separate the pool from the yacht club itself. So we went ahead and separated them. I mean, we can always put them back together if you like, but we went ahead with. Yeah. There you go. So they're separate. So for tracking purposes, so you can see them. We've also included the meeting summary from the meeting we had on the 28th, the agenda for the 15th. At our next meeting, or at our next time we get together, I'll give you the summary from meeting from the 15th, because we're always a few days. Once we type them up, we send them around, review them, and then we get them posted. But these materials are actually on the website as we speak. Okay. Updates. I've said on the website multiple times. I want to draw everyone's attention. These materials are being put up on the website regularly. All the pictures, which you just saw flashing up of the pictures, all those are on the website. To follow, go to theoceanpines.org/projects. Actually takes you to the page for the Yacht Club right now. Now, if you just go to oceanpines.org, you can go to the far right, and there's a projects tab there. You can click there and get all the updates on. So I'm encouraging everyone to take a look at that. We're trying real hard to make sure all that stays updated. That was something the board wanted to make sure we're keeping those things updated. Okay, Hingham Lane. Give you just some quick picks for anybody that's not been out there. They've got a big excavator out there working. They're digging some dirt out there right now. These were just some pics we took. We went out and got them today, so we'd have the most current and accurate for those who have not seen them. Give you an update. Install a discharge pipe on the existing junction box, which contains the double barrel discharge under the parkway. That's been put in. Crossed First Drive moving towards Hingham Lane. Installed 2 catch basins, aid in drainage in that area. Installed first junction box. That was a big concrete box on the north side of Hingham. Encountered an electrical where the marking was. Mr. Utility marked a top tank line. It was actually 35 feet, surprise, off of where it was marked to be. So top tank came right out for us. I had a couple of crews out there working, and they actually spliced the line to take care of it for us, and we got it moved. So the work is continuing. Installing this week along Hingham Lane. If you go by, there's a bunch of stuff happening out there. We'll work, continue through the week. Next week's a holiday week. They're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, off Thursday, and they're looking at, depending on how far they are with the project, they may come back Friday, Saturday. They may wait to start the following. The goal is to have all the work completed somewhere around December 6th. That's the target. And as long as the weather holds, it looks like they'll be able to do that.
Well, where do we stand? Where do we stand on any kind of road repairs that need to be done after their work is done?
We'll repair them. I don't know that.
Are your crews going to do that?
It depends on how big it is. It depends on where. Most of it's along the Hingham Lane part. We'll take a look. I don't know. They're there to put it back in working order. But again, we always take another look after. Yes, sir.
Give me up to speed. What do you mean take another look? In other words, you may subcontract.
No, it's, and again, I don't want to say something that's not 100% correct. I'll go back and look. So we'll take another look at it. I want to take something.
But Ocean Pines does repair.
We do.
Yeah.
We would do a repair, but I believe it's part of the overall contract. Goody Hill, I think, has that part of it to repair any road
Gotcha.
if they do. So that's why I don't want to say something
Okay.
that misrepresents. Yes, sir.
Understood.
Got to be a little careful about our mines. It really does. County comes in, water repairs or utility repairs.
With their
they
work.
do the fix.
Correct. Yep. Good point.
Thanks.
So we're excited. That's finally happening. If you see the size of the trenches and everything they're digging, this should add a lot of value there for the folks that live in that whole area. This is that final piece we're waiting on. Pretty exciting. This should really help out. Northgate Bridge, if you have not, I just put a couple of pictures up. Remember, they worked through the night. Unfortunately, it was one of the coldest nights that we've had this year, but Eddie's schedule's not me. But I don't know if those of you who really take a look at it, that bridge was gray before it's back to brown. It actually looks nice. I was real pleased with the work. Also cleaned up around the whole Northgate Pond. The other pond we cleaned up was Bainbridge. So all part of just getting everything cleaned up as our ongoing measures. Yes, sir.
Quick question on that. Number one, do you intend to seal it or you just going to leave it all?
We're going to leave it through the winter. We're going to look at it in the spring to see what we do. It may just clear coat it.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind. Just something to seal it, which will stop it from turning gray again. And the second question is the favorite one. Have we had any luck in searching for globes that are similar to lights that are there?
No. And I actually had a gentleman who is a retired electrician, lives in the community, very familiar with lighting, actually came in and offered some assistance. He had his own electrical company up in the Baltimore area, was extremely confident he could find these light the globes. 2 or 3 weeks later, came back, couldn't. His recommendation was a commercial application, would not look anything like those lights. So after we put the green ones up and tried 2 different ones that got shot down, I wasn't comfortable putting anything up right now. We've separated them where it looks like it's supposed to be. We will have to go back and come up with a lighting plan.
Just nothing even close out there in the market. Don't have to be the same size.
No, we're going to have to replace them all. And then you're also upgrading not just the light, but the fixture and everything, the ballast, because it's all old school.
Understand.
We'll put
It works the way you all have done it.
for now.
It gives the impression that it's fully lit, and it works as compared to the way it would be. But I'm just curious. I know last time we talked about this was 7.
Yeah, remember the green no one liked? So
Oh yeah, I remember that.
So we
I want
separated
to put my
them.
pool table underneath that green.
Okay, all right, but now it would match the green tops on the sign, so there was a plan.
There was
but
a
that's
green
okay.
theme.
You
That's
missed,
okay.
You missed the 3 a.m. game.
Yeah, but we'll look at spring when we look at sealing it. We'll look at replacing like a big part of the spring cleanup and getting back in.
Good. Thank you.
New website. And Tom, I really appreciate you talking about it. Very, very excited about. We delayed a couple weeks with rollout because we had some glitches, had some extremely favorable feedback, so appreciate everyone calling us, emailing us. Feedback in 2 ways. Let me give you the real positives right now. I just pulled 3 of the many that we've received. Nice layout design, should get user where they wish to go quickly. Again, that's part of the search feature built in. I really like the site. They came in big, bold. That was pretty cool. Well, please pass along my congratulations to all involved in creating the new website. It looks great and is super user-friendly. All the targets we're trying to hit. Now, weren't perfect. There's some commas missed, some misspelled words, some items, and we actually have folks, they'll email us, hey, check out page X. I saw this typo. And Teresa's actually done a great job working with the D3 team. She actually can now go in and make those changes almost instantaneously. So if you see something that should or shouldn't be on there, great example at the bottom today, we had someone call us this morning, events pop up. Okay, and this is an automatic fill so as current events. Well, there was one meeting scheduled that really isn't for today, and one meeting, and our meeting, the board meeting, was not on there. Well, we didn't catch it. Well, what we found out was the back end way the site was talking was set on Central Time, the time or something. So it wasn't picking up the right time to bring it forward to meet this date. Again, they're a little quick little thing. It didn't take long. Teresa tried to fix it. Had to call D3, got it. Boom, it was fixed right away. So it's those little things that we appreciate everyone kind of emailing us, calling, because that's how it's going to work. Everyone helping us out. If we miss something, tell us. And the emails coming in have been great, not just positive, but the help has been nice. Hey, take a look at this. Not you dummy, you blew this. They've all been great. So we appreciate the help. I mean, it's really been great. We think it's an evolving site. We're continuing to add items to it. Area, I want to draw your attention to the catering. We have a brand new catering menu, brand new catering, obviously with new pub coming on, all those type of things. So we're really good, putting a lot of focus in there right now. So there's going to be a lot of things with the site. We're also hoping to have a membership login area. That's one of our future endeavors where you can log in and update your name, your address, you've moved, you've updated your phone number, email, those type of things. At the bottom of the site, there's some areas there we can sign up for your email. You can't see it, scroll down there, but where you can sign up for email. You can look at some of our activity guide. If you click on it, you can actually flip it like you got one in your hand. So there's a lot of enhanced features on here that we think that we're getting a lot of positive feedback. But if anybody sees anything that we still need to improve, let us know. Not you.
Not me.
Not you. No.
No, I would hope that down the road, with this site, as we continue to develop our computer science and application base here in Ocean, we will be able to eventually get to the point we have a secure segment on the site where I can actually get my bill, pay my bills, do
Yes.
memberships, whole 9 yards. I would hope that's in the plan.
Absolutely. That's part of that next part of the project where you can log in, you can update your information. If you wanted to buy merchandise, coffee mug, Marty, I knew Marty would have always have one of our coffee mugs. I appreciate that. Those type of things, you can go on and order. They're where we'd like to get to, where you put your credit card information and it's secure. So yes, so updating your bill, checking the status of your HOA dues. If you're on a payment plan, you can check it. Yes, that's the next phase, getting that part of the secure site.
And the big one is simple electronic billing, running it through bank days or something like that. So in fact, it might be some big expense.
Great. That's where, and good input. That's where we're heading to, and the site's built with today's technology to be able to take advantage of it. So we're real excited. And this is certainly moving us forward in the implementation. Right. So Teresa, appreciate your work. Financials. We're going to hit those, and they're in the reports. October 2013 year-to-date actual. This is through October of this year, October 31st of this year. Numbers are actually, bottom line's good. Numbers are where we're tracking pretty good. There was nothing that jumped out. We're closing the gap in some areas, which we figured we would. Keep in mind, when you look at rec, just for those that don't remember, recreation includes other areas such as marina, okay, which is a biggie. Obviously, that generates income. So when you look across there, that's inclusive of others, public safety, fire and police. And then we next slide gives you the forecast for the year. These are the forecasted numbers. We actually tried to be conservative with these. Our big one, right? We're tracking our golf number. Golf has to have a pretty good April, where it's heavy in April to hit its numbers. So when Art and I were talking about it, we actually backed off a little bit off their number. This is without hitting April the way they anticipated. We tried to forecast a little more conservative.
So this is your forecast, you and Art.
And we talk. It's not he and I just make it up. We talk to the department heads based on where they are with their tracking. But yes, this is. We go through quarterly and give the other.
The concern is the obvious one, and that's to make sure we don't have last year's surprise. Well, this was very positive, very, very negative. There's a policy. I believe you made a policy change to avoid that situation.
Well, we don't want any surprises. But last October, we knew we were going to be off in golf because we made a decision to renovate greens, which we knew we'd take a loss. So that was our biggest single one. We do not see any of that. I mean, we really take a look. Keep in mind, from here forward until March, April, and April's the big month that BCG's actually budgeted for golf. Other than that, it's flat. So I think we're okay. We really tried to look. We looked hard at the aquatic side of it. Obviously, with the yacht club being closed, we have an idea where their numbers obviously are. The other fly in the ointment there that you just don't 100% know about is the country club. That one's got me a little twisted because we just don't know what that's going to, if people are going to continue to come, that's great. But if they don't, it enhances potential to enhance our loss a little. So we try to be conservative with our numbers. Yes, sir.
Will the numbers of beverage continue to go to here? Now,
You mean for the yacht club?
no,
The
country club.
For the country club.
Well, the yacht club staff are managing the country club, so they'll show in the yacht club numbers.
Okay, so
So
food
we-
and beverage is basically now all
For the
golf.
for golf ops, yes. That way we can track it. We know it's associated with yacht club staff, so we want to make sure we track that.
In the spring, does Casper pick up their food and beverage over at Turns Grove?
Yes, and we're looking
So that
at
will be when?
March timeframe, but it hasn't been finalized yet. Because when golf starts to pick up, we're going to get that Turns Grill crank back up, turn that back over to them. Plus, we're going to be in the process of getting the yacht club ramped up. So sometime in that early March is what we're hoping. Nothing else?
One thing, just to Dan's point at the end of the year, clarify things better this year. The third column over, if I'm correct, is in fact the end of year net forecast you're talking about. Right. The next two columns are the variance in the budget. So the column that, if I want to know how the quote business is doing, it's the third column, and you're projecting we're going to end the year with a $98,000 surplus.
I am.
We'll make sure that I was reading it right, and that's the column.
You're
I'm
reading it
gonna be
right,
looking
Dan.
at.
But it actually, if you look with variance, Tom, it's 20 grand. I mean, I look at the far right. You're correct here, but I also go over here.
Yep.
I don't want to be so aggressive and say 100 grand. I'd rather go with 20 and
I got that part.
be
too.
short.
Understand. But that was part of the confusion last spring, where we were looking at the right column and thinking we were going into the last month ahead of the ball game, and all of a sudden we end up. So let's not get back into that again. We look at the third column, we'll know where we are. That's the real projection for the end of the year as of now. Thank you.
Yes.
What's
Mark?
included in administration?
Ooh, the admin, it's in, you should have it.
Right
You look-
here.
Yep, that's it. General manager's office,
guys right
finance.
here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, these guys here also.
And
Nope,
everything-
up works.
No, controllers.
Maintenance?
Nope, that's all public work right there. Everything in the building there, pretty much, not less the police station office. Okay. All right, just some quick highlights. Farmers Market, we're pushing through. Just I want to make sure Tracy gets on me that she wants me to always stand up here and sell. So Farmers Market, it's going through the winter. The Farmers Market folks want they can bring out their goods. They pay for space there, and our residents are using it. I mean, it stays busy. I was surprised.
They were there in the rain on Saturday because I was there. All dedicated. I was amazed.
Yeah, people are coming, so that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in continued growth. We're offering a lot of different products, so we're excited about that endeavor. It's our first full year doing it. So, yes, Mike.
You moved too
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
That's
I
right.
moved too slow. We go back to numbers I said.
Marty, you pull your microphone down. They can't hear you.
I'm here fine.
Yeah, but you're closer. I can't.
They can probably hear me in my house.
Thank you, Marty.
I'm trying to understand the yacht club budget. Was it budgeted to be closed? It was. It was budgeted to be closed.
A portion, yeah, because we were going to do the construction. But
Okay, cool.
we
It just looks weird to beat
Yeah.
budget by $40,000 and you're closed.
yeah, and remember we closed a little bit earlier than anticipated too.
That's I didn't
Yeah,
understand.
it created a little bit of a. Oh,
Okay.
it's
Anyway,
positive hiccup. I'll take it. So, Okay, farmer's market. So it's 8 a.m. till noon every Saturday. Come out and enjoy. Leaf collection. Some things that I want to make sure, because it's a big time of year, we're getting a lot of calls about it. It is on the website, but I want to make sure I hit it here, because we're also covered live on this. Waste Management will pick up 4 bags of leaves during your if you have regular trash pickup by them, they'll also pick up 4 additional bags of yard materials, leaves. We began picking up bag leaves on the opposite day of the regularly scheduled Waste Management trash pickup day. So if they're in the north end today, we're picking up on the south. If they're in south, we're picking up on the north, just as a general thumb. We have the truck that we have leased the last couple of years from Ocean City with crew assigned. They're actually going out
And
and
if they have 10 bags, you'll pick up 10
We'll
bags.
pick them up. 25 November, you can begin raking out. We have folks, you see them now, raking out from the ditches. We're not set up to start vacuuming yet. So I encourage people, don't do that yet. If you're going to take time to rake them, please bag them, we'll pick them up. But we don't have the vacuum truck set up where we're doing it yet. We're still wrapping up, so we're closing out some other things that we had on our schedule. We'll begin doing that. We'll start vacuuming them up. The other thing I want to say, please don't rake your entire yard through your ditch up where your mounds are this high. It's not raking up. It's not helping, because you're filling our truck almost immediately when the berm's this high. Be courteous to all your neighbors. We're trying to get as much accomplished. Try to work efficiently, but we need everyone's help.
We have the big bag available.
We do. We do.
They're still about the
And
bag.
are they up here, Chuck? Yep, admin as well now.
What bag?
And we appreciate people coming in to use them, so we appreciate that.
What is the instruction to the work crew when they get to a site, home site, where the leaves are 4 foot high? And
You're not asking me that right now, are you?
yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because
Well, here's the challenge you're putting me in. If I say we're going to take them, now everyone's going to do it because there's no consequences. So we're not vacuuming yet. So we're still coming up with our final plan. To be honest with you, I want to leave them and build them. But the challenge is we're in charge of keeping the stormwater areas clear.
Yep.
We're working. I've been talking with Eddie. Unfortunately, he's out this week. Of trying to finalize exactly what we're going to do to handle it.
Bob, is there any way that we can communicate with I know this is probably an almost impossible question, but communicate with guys like Larry Keys and other landscape people who do a lot of the collection leasing in Ocean Pines, let them know, not blow the leaves out into the street, things like that. Because that's how a lot of that happens. It's not necessarily the people who live there; it's the people who bring in, clean the leaves out.
Yeah, part of the challenge, and yeah, I mean that's why I keep saying it. I keep bringing it up. It's in the newsletter or putting it on the website. We're not the commercial pickup, and we don't accept to that point. If you're a commercial leaf debris remover, don't come up with your trailer to the next. Where I'm going to tell you, we have pickup at Public Works. If you're getting paid to do it, you're taking it to the dump. You're not bringing it to us. We're getting charged. You're getting paid to do it, and then you're bringing it to us to dispose of it. It's not happening. We're going to turn you away for a public.
It'd be nice if we could for that, just to make sure that some of these guys know what's going on. I'm watching it happen.
I know. The challenge we spend 6-figure money getting leaves out of our community. And the challenge is we've got to keep the ditches clear. Where do you draw the line? I mean, if you all want to think of a new policy to help us, I mean, Art hates me every time I bring up leaves and releasing truck. He really get his opinion. He doesn't think we ought to be touching them, but he also understands we got to keep the stormwater areas clear. So it's a sticky wicket. I don't know the best answer on it. We've changed. We're opening the yard Monday through Saturday. The yard's going to be open starting on the 23rd. So if you bag them, you don't want to wait. You can bring them to us. So we'll work with you any way we can. If you all want to come up with a different strategy, we're open for recommendations. We spend a lot of money on these.
What about the strategy for the sum total of 15 seconds? So I'm sure it's thoroughly thought out. Bottom line is, at the very least, let's get a list of the addresses where your team is running into the 4 foot high, 3 foot wide. At least let's know where it's happening. Right now, we don't know how many there are. We could be talking about a pickup truck or a tractor trailer's problem. So if
Okay.
just get a list of the addresses so that we at least know where and what we're talking about. And, we'll send you out with a
Did you
little
zoom in on him when he
fireman's
said that?
hat. Yeah, right.
You zoomed on him, didn't you, when he said that?
Well,
President of the board, Tom Terry.
You can't solve a problem if you don't know how big it is. There's
understand.
projections of how big this is. But let's document it. Okay.
Fine. Yeah, no, that's good. All right, so that's it on the leaves. We're here to help you. We want to do everything we can. That's why the yard's open. Vehicle replacement, they were in your packets. We did double check the numbers on these. I had Art double check them twice, just so you know. I got stuck last month.
I didn't even look.
Yeah, well, trust me, they're good today. Public Works vehicle budget 30, the actual is 25. There is a $4,000 savings. Double check them. Michelle will tell you.
And
Make
they
sure.
include tax and tax.
And include tax and tax. So I need approval on that. I might as well show you the other one because they're back to back right here in your board packet. Budget 32, we're actually, we downsized in what we're getting. We didn't need as big of what we initially budgeted for that. So we'd like to go ahead and make these acquisitions, but I need board approval.
Move to approve both purchases.
I have a question for you.
No, that's not discussion.
Second.
Okay, we had a motion and second. Now we can discussion. Sure.
All right, on the aquatics pickup truck, one of the bids referred to 2 vehicles. Are we getting 1 or 2?
One vehicle. We'll get multiple bids in from.
No. There were 2 trucks on this bid.
If you recall, last month we bought a truck at Brecken Parks. So they came in on, I'm guessing that's the same one that came, they bid, I don't want to say the dealer's name, but they bid two vehicles for us.
Okay, that was my question because I saw one price for one,
One.
but I saw
We
2
approved to get
on the
one.
bid. Okay. So I need a clarification. Thank you.
And they are all taxes and tax, so
It's all in on the street.
all in. Except for fuel. I think they give us a tank.
All in on the street. Okay. Call the question on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I've already voted, yeah.
Upcoming events.
Quietly voted.
Just wanted to cover MediaCom meeting. Everybody looks
That'll be
happy.
fun.
That'll be here tomorrow night. The next event coming up after that's the holiday tree lighting we do out here in White Horse Park. Please come out for that. I encourage you all as board members. It's a great way. The community really gets behind it. We started a few years ago where we buy the Christmas trees and different groups actually purchase that tree and they decorate it and we award and we have singers and kids. It's just a really, really fun time. So if you can come out and do that. Breakfast with Santa's coming up. Swim with Santa's coming up. And Country Club is open for business. So
Where's the breakfast for Santa? I'm sorry, I don't know.
When is it?
Where?
That is here.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, do you know off the top of your head the hours?
I do. They're Friday evening, 4 to close. Go ahead, Trace. You're better.
Friday 4 to Saturday, Sunday 11, and lunch dinner then
Monday night. For Monday night football. So 11 o'clock on the weekends till close. Fridays at 4, Mondays at 4.
They're doing 4 to 7 is happy hour pricing.
Friday night.
Somebody asked me, and I don't know the answer. When is the media? I know this forever. When's the media contract?
It renews this month for that last period of time. And unless if you remember, there were 2 factors. It's a good question because we've had that lately. Unless we could demonstrate significant fault of some sort, and it's right out of the contract. Tom, you can correct me. You've read this 100 times. And we negotiate to have someone else buy the infrastructure. They're the 2 things we had to do to get out of it.
I just suggest a fun exercise at the MediaCom meeting.
Are you going to be there?
No.
Then no.
I'm a suggestion anyways. I think what they ought to do is chalk and have every single person in attendance bring their bill. And we could actually have a wheel of fortune and have betting. I would take the bet that says you can't find two that are dinner. I'm just wondering what our responsibility as a franchisee is in the way they conduct business. By the way, when they come, do they have like a Western wagon and a guy with a top hat sitting on the back?
No, they come and do a good job. They take
They come wearing flak jackets
They ought to.
at this point. Contractually, the contract was written by, obviously, those who came before. There is virtually no leverage whatsoever for Ocean Pines Association to leverage billing, packaging, or anything. The only thing we can claim is legal default for being a carrier. And as Bob just said, in order to get out of this, we would actually have to buy all their equipment and go and get someone to go into the cable business for us to get out of the last 5 years.
But you know what's sad? I'm on the liaison for the communications committee. Half the committee, half, don't subscribe to MediaCom. I had no idea how many people had. How many people don't subscribe to MediaCom? Word of it.
Well, there's a lot of Dish and DirecTV customers in Ocean Pines.
No wonder my bills went up.
All right, the one piece there I didn't hand out with the yacht club, which is quite frankly, let's just I try to do this at every board meeting. Our working session we don't usually have. At our board session, I try to give the Gantt chart just for tracking purposes, and we try to blow it up big enough so it's a little easier to read. It's the same one you've been getting, with the updates. So we like to make sure I give you the most recent updated.
Yep.
Thank you. You're welcome. And Dan's going to do this portion of the presentation.
I've got the next portion.
All right. That's right. All right. Not a whole lot of slides on this. I'm going to just give you some overview. I've given you phase 2. If you'll notice, it does say phase 2 or part 2 draft on the front of it. If you recall, we did several months back part 1 of the capital improvement plan. This is part 2. I'm going to go over some things in it, but really I'm going to give you some higher level focus, not necessarily what you have in your hands, okay, to give you a flavor of what this is. And you guys can go back over the month, look at it at our December meeting, and obviously our working session, we can do it. We can talk about it. We feel we're moving in a good direction, but obviously we need the input from you guys. Let me cover a few things. CIP facts to make sure you understand when you go back and you look at this, because I know it's 15 pages with a lot of pieces in there. It's a draft. It's part 2, but much like we did with part 1, we gave it to you. We looked at it for a month. We came back and changes, concerns you had, we modified. So this is a draft. Costs associated in there are estimates right now, because we didn't go back. We haven't gone out to price certain things. We just went through it and we came up with ballpark estimates based on our history for some of the other similar projects we had. There are missing items. We recognize that we still would like to add to. And monies to finalize or formalize this into the yes, this is our marching orders for long-term planning. 2 things we need to look at. We need to take a look at some engineering studies, which we've been talking about a little bit. And they're in there. We also have to look at comprehensive planning. And I know Dan, with the comprehensive planning committee, are we going to talk about it all today?
Yeah, well, I'll just interject that. This is a tactical level plan, if you will. It's the overall strategy of how do we decide what we really need over a 10-year span of time is a challenging question. And to help make that decision, the Comprehensive Plans Committee has gone to Dr. Mimo Derricker at Salisbury University, runs a thing called the Beacon Corporation that does market research and basic research to answer specifically that kind of question. Our facilities manager has been directly involved with the Comp Plan Committee on this, and agrees completely that what we need to do is to take a look at not only what do the physical facilities need, which you've done here, but what physical facilities do we need or will we be needing based upon a very good estimate of where the population is going and what the population needs for the state campus. So the two should marry up. And we will be talking about that on December 4th for our regular meeting. Dr. Derek is a guest. To develop
At the work session.
No, not a meeting, I'm sorry. That work session. Develop basically a proposal for the board to consider and to go into some. So there is a kind of a couple levels to this thing. It's not simply, hey, the engineers say the country club's going to fall down in 5 years, we have to replace it. It's, hey, the country club's going to fall down in 5 years. Do we need the same size facility, or is there something happening with our current use of that facility that's changed? You've accounted for some of that.
Yes. And we try to focus and that's where getting the comprehensive plan, whatever the final decision is there with the board, is working with Dr. Derek from SU to come up with it, knowing what we're going to look like in the future as a community, demographics, those type of things will help us make better decisions on which facilities to focus on. With that being said, the board challenged me to move forward with putting something together, so that's what we've done. Let me give you some kind of page 4. I saw a lot of you grabbed it and started looking at it. We tried to hit a lot of the maintenance, the things that we've already identified that need to be addressed. Examples of Mumford's Landing, adult pool repair and resurface. You know, we have that back corner that's failing. The kiddie pool, swim and racket adult pool, swim and racket club pool for the kid pool. Sports court repairs, the decking. We try to put, these are all kind of the shorter term, more immediate needs, and they're not all necessarily going to be, some will be accomplished now over the next 6 months, and some will budget for in the next budget cycle. So you'll see some things pop up in the budget in January. Okay? So we kind of went through and tried to make sure we identified everything that we knew that was coming up, at least at the initial blush. Now, we also try to put, the far right side of the column says sponsor. What we tried to break down there is we tried to identify who who initiated. Now, a lot of it we may have and gone to a group, but the first 4 or 5 there, we actually took it to the aquatics committee and said, help us look at materials, or look at the pools, what do you think? And they helped us come up with these. Okay? So that's where the different committees have been helpful. We've had some impact from Worcester County, Rec Parks, OPA would be us, being myself, Public Works, Art, whomever. So we've gone through those and we've identified these items. Again, this is kind of the first stab at it. Now, let's go with some 35,000. Yes?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just want to clarify. These came from requests from the committees or from Worcester County or
A number.
of these. There are some, like say, there's nothing there I see from the environmental committee.
We didn't go committee to committee and say, give us your list. That's not what this was.
Okay.
We gathered over the last year. You know, think about Aquatics Committee as an example. They go out and they evaluate the pools and they give us recommendations on maintenance of the pool. Sir, yes.
5 years plan.
Yeah, you do for them, but I'm just I just want to know where all these things came from. Some of them came from the committees, and some came from other sources.
Correct.
If there is somebody on there you think should have been on there and isn't,
that's what we'll talk about. That's what we're going to.
That's what you got.
Okay. That's why we want to give you the first blush to look at it. It's a good starting point. You guys will noodle through it over the next few weeks, and then we'll go back and start going. All right, really, should we, shouldn't we? Those type of things.
And the advisory committees, all of them, were given the opportunity to put in their year-end report financial requests, maintenance requests, capital project requests. So this kind of information has multiple ways of finding its way in to this
Yeah, we didn't limit. There
Right.
was no stop. There was no don't include. Give it to us. If it seems reasonable, we're going to put it here. Then, once it's at least in writing, we now know it's something we need to focus on. Is it something we do sooner, later, what have you? We had to get started. Marty, so you had a question?
I'm trying to understand. So there's swimming rec, kiddie pool.
Yes.
I know it's only an estimated cost, but
Yes.
$1.75.
Well, see where he's looking at? The kiddie pool.
Yes, sir.
The aquatics committee is recommending, okay, and I tell you, I agree with their recommendation, by the way, so I'm not,
Splash.
a splash park.
Great idea.
You know, it just relieves us from so many other areas, not the least of which, labor costs, because you don't have standing water in the pool, so you're a little more flexible with CPO/lifeguard, those type of things. Plus, I don't know if you heard Marty said splash park. That's kind of where the real small, the kiddie pools are starting to go to. More people are using them. Unfortunately, if you're going to put one of those in, there's an expense to it. Now, this was actually, I hate to say this was a lower estimate, but it does give us the pumps and the water storage because they can increase later.
If you hate me to give advice, call CCOM. They just put one in. And they put it in for, thinking back to a rec budget, but I believe it was less than 40.
I can tell you, we've talked to
I've
two
seen it.
people
It's
that
beautiful. As
well,
big as this room.
we didn't make the number up. I talked to two pool contractors that do these, and we actually scaled them down. This was a pretty good and conservative estimate. Now, we'll start talking to
pool
see.
for 200.
Who did?
220. You did. $220,000. Build a yacht club swimming.
Okay.
Am I right or wrong? I mean, isn't that a fact?
Yes.
Marty, I can interject. This is my committee that I work with. The plan that they have, and they have a couple bids on these splash parks, what they could do this in phases. One of the phases is to put in the pumps and the controls. There's a water hole because the water is recirculated, so it's reused and after it's been cleaned. So they can put all that infrastructure in. Plus, we have to get the ramp down there because that's not ADA requirement with the fence and whatever else has to be done. And then the toys that go for the children to splash with or shoot each other with the water or whatever, those things can be added at a later date. The original bid that we had, one of them from one of the local pool companies was higher than this. But I think the conservative approach, as the committee has recommended, is to get the infrastructure in. And then as we go along, increase and add the toys. But at least the preliminary, it's all planned for the future. And that's why the number's there. 40,000, it was not even close to the numbers that we've seen, and we've had a couple estimates.
That doesn't mean we won't look to see. Again, this is
Yeah.
the starting point. I mean,
Well,
every
again,
one of these.
You have to level everything. Sea Colony may be reusing pumps they've already had to feed it. Who knows? But by all means, let's take a look at it. They built one the size of this building. 40 grand. Let's take
This room.
this room.
Great
Great.
big
Okay.
flat space.
Well, a lot of the cost is the pumps.
What's that?
A lot of the, I mean, I read the report. A lot of
The
the
pumps,
cost
the
is the report.
recirculating, the tanks.
Very-
But
very
again, we,
There are no tools. Just spray come out. And water.
Well, there are toys as part of this project, and it's spray, it's a variety of stuff.
so we put it out there, and as with, like I said, we can debate item by item later, and we'll really dial into the numeric, with the final numbers. We'll get estimates. I mean, we'll look at the sea colonies. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going. I mean, it's set in stone. Go look, figure out. But we had to start somewhere. So this gives us kind of the building blocks. Now, you're going to see as you read through this, I would get back to kind of 35,000 feet because I think this is sort of where the board was driving. At least I know Dan was driving me hard on this. What are we looking at as potential growth for the organization and how this is impacted? Because obviously if we're trying to put a long-range plan together, we're trying to look at what projects are we going to move to next and why. You'll notice in the near term, I want to draw your attention to a few of them. One is, and this is going to draw some controversy, but I'm not, what else is new for me? So one thing is the room we're sitting in, I'm recommending to convert this room into a fitness center. The room itself. Treadmills, Stairmasters, those type of things, and it would be you'll like this, my fee for get that question all the time of fitness center, where should we put that type of thing, tied right to the gymnasium. So again, I'm kind of throwing out there some bigger long-range plan, 35,000 feet. Like to convert this into fitness facility, this room, which would mean we would convert bathrooms in the kitchen to shower and bathroom areas. So I've already looked at it, trying to get some some numeric, put some numbers to it, see what it costs to do it. I have walked with our couple public works crews. The only thing we'd have to be concerned with when you're converting that is that portion of the building has the piping underneath that helps radiate the heat. So there's some things we'd have to do there. But this would turn into a fitness center. The next question would have to start meeting space, especially for big meetings. Well, here we go with the next big. Just throwing it out there. Police station, if anyone walks through it, and I'm happy to walk anybody through it, deteriorating. They've been in that space for 20 years with very few upgrades. If you recall, 2 summers ago, we had a bad guy who was in the holding cell pretty much pulled his arm, the cuff right out of the wall. We now have 2 holding cells. One of them was a converted closet into temporary holding cell. There's no Sally port. That's where when you bring a bad guy in, the transition. There's a number of things that we just are desperately needing, or the police department desperately needs there. So my recommendation is do an annex on the side of that building or somewhere in this campus area. The first thought is there, where we put approximately 3,000 square foot facility attached to that. If you look at, in the last 10 years, starting in Fenwick Island, Ocean City, Snow Hill, Kokomo, and it's all, they're listed, I list them for you. All the surrounding police departments, and Berlin's in the process of doing, have upgraded their facility. We have not. Now, part of my thought process there, by adding that, it increases our police capability. Second thing is, because the annex, I'd like to take the 1,700 square foot that they occupy now, open it up like a room like this, and that becomes the boardroom. That becomes a training room when the police need it. That becomes meeting space for membership when they need it. When we have large meetings, the big 150 plus on our annual meeting, we'll use the gym floor, which we've done before. If you recall, we did a couple of those with the Yacht Club project where we had 225 or so people in there. So that's kind of the big campus planning here. The ramp, the White Horse boat ramp is part of the near term as well. Put some figures in there. That came out of the boat. What's the committee? Marina. Thank you. Marina Advisory Committee. So that's in there. Longer term, you look at, we're going to have to make some decisions of what to do out at the sports court with the pool. We're looking at resurfacing now. We're looking at what to do with that area. I have some long-term thoughts there as well, but they're not quite in this report yet. I thought I'd start some smaller steps and throw it out there. So this is for you all to look at, to digest, to kick around, and then we'll either do it at the working session, or we can do it certainly at the next regular meeting. We'll go through as much detail as you want. Yes?
Where did the plan to turn this room into a health club?
Me. But I was asked to bring recommendations, so I did. Okay, that's what I'm saying.
Never heard of.
Yeah, we actually, and I'll tell you, it wasn't just Bob wanting to do it. We've had a lot of people when we renovated the Yacht Club, and certainly when we looked at the...
Ted.
It wasn't Ted.
He's the only one I've heard.
No, Marty, I don't, trust me, it's not a one-person show. I've had a lot of people when we're looking at the country club, when we're looking at the Yacht Club or that, a big push was to put a fitness facility there. What the challenge with it, if you look at and remember we started talking about campus management a year ago. You know, we're looking at everything as a whole, as opposed to all these little components, and they don't always fit together. If you look at how we use this campus, this really is the active, skate park, basketball, we got the gymnasium. I think the next step here is to add the fitness center. This room gives us enough space to do so and do it relatively cost effective. So Just some ideas I'm throwing
I'd like
out
to
there.
just make a comment to that. I appreciate you thinking out of the box. That's what we asked you to do. I will say, Marty, as a realtor, that's one of the major questions I get asked: where is the fitness center in the community? And I have to say, there isn't one. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to approve it, but at least he's thinking about it, and I think that's what we asked him to do, is to think of it.
And as a builder developer, of large real estate developments, I think that the best place to buy this stuff is all those that are closed up in the eastern United States for non-use.
I don't know that we have one in the community, though. Although down at the point, you guys have a space.
Let's,
I knew I was going to get
Moving right
I
along.
diverted.
Moving right.
I don't, no, before we leave this topic, the other piece of that, Bob, is
Yes.
there's the thought of the square footage allocation, and then there is the who actually buys all the equipment and puts it in place. You can always team with someone who's in the business and have people bid to put their equipment in here and let there be memberships and those kinds of things, so that the actual risk of buying all the equipment and all that kind of thing is not borne totally by us. But this is at 35,000 feet, and you know, I'm sure there's a business case on the shelf over there already done. You know, I understand.
Conceptual.
I
You asked
understand.
me
I
great
got it.
concepts. I'm bringing them out.
Leasing this space to not
That's what I just said.
lease the space. Get completely out of this.
Again, there are
Kind of
many,
what I
many
just said.
options.
There are options.
I'm throwing kind
You're
of
doing
big,
so well at others.
Okay,
throwing big picture
I don't
items.
need that.
All right.
Let me
next.
reinforce what Sharon said. I think the board did ask Bob to be open, creative, listen to folks. You did it. We'll go back and forth and read this, and it'll be a big part of our work session in December.
I have one other question. With the police and fire department, or police department, the surrounding cities, do they assume the cost of that, or is there some state money or something available
That's
for
fair, Sharon.
police
That's a
department?
great question. There are actual grant fund, and I know Dennis Hudson.
Those back here, yeah. I
There
was
are grant.
kind of looking at you, Dennis.
There are potential funding solutions that are available to make efforts like that.
Okay, that's
There are
what.
grant funds, there are state funds, there are federal funds. I've been looking at some of those. I know Dennis and his team are looking at. So yeah, I believe that we could get some additional funding to help offset some of that.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Next steps with that, you guys to review the materials. You guys are going to have Dr. Decker in on 4th, I believe it is.
Yes.
So you're going to talk with him about comprehensive planning, decide how that may fit in. Once those two are final, we've had time to talk about, look at it. I've got several people that I've been talking to that have actually helped me come up with some of this information. I'll expand upon that based on what the board thinks. You've seen phase part 1. This is now part 2. If it sounds like we're moving in a reasonable direction, I'm going to start working on a more regular basis with the group to continue to develop this. I'd like to have, if the board decides to adopt a comprehensive plan through Dr. Decker as an example, I would like to work closely with them through a small group to make sure we're getting enough input to his group so we can come up with a real good long-range plan for the community. Okay? Good for me.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. We move on to public comment. You ready? Joe, you had your hand up first. Now I'm going to slow down.
Like work.
I'm not sure. We'll find out.
1 and 5.
Is that on?
What? You see it? It's small. Can I throw my 5 minutes? Yeah. That's fine.
Time's up.
It's not, you speak loud enough for that. 4 Watertown Road. First of all, thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Terry, for using the mics properly. Makes a big difference out here. Dan, when did you make your motion to do, has been euphemistically known as rack and stack originally?
I believe it was October of last year. It's been a year.
October of last year. So here we are, over a year later. We still don't have a complete list. Now, I haven't seen the list. No one out here has seen the list. It makes it difficult for us even to understand or follow what you all were talking about. We can see what you're looking at. Does that list include the completion of the golf course drainage project? Is that in the list?
We just got it. We haven't had a chance to look at it.
Would you like me to comment or not?
Sure, yeah.
If you look at the last page, it does give the long range, different timing for the facilities, but I think it's appropriate to give it to the board to give time to look at before we get questions. But you need to see what I've looked at. And then certainly we'll make it public whenever the board advises. It's not anything to be hidden. If I might say so, prior to your arrival, General Manager, last 3 general, maybe 4, this kind of material was set at a table. The membership picked it up and had a copy of it, came in prior to the meeting.
Let me clarify something on the rack and stack that you referred to, Joe, if you don't mind. There was, in fact, a rack and stack that was put to the board about 2 years ago that was voted on by this board and is, in fact, an approved list by the board of directors that we're working from right now and that Bob is working from. This is an update in an expansion of that work. So there is a rack and stack. It's been in a binder. It was voted by the board. It's been in the community center available. Anybody who wants to see it, put it on the website. So this is not the beginning of the creation of the rack and stack. It, in fact, has been in place and was voted on by this board.
I suggest you go back and read Mr. Kursky.
I know what his
That's
motion
enough of
said.
that for
I know what his motion said.
I think Dan knows what he asked.
Oh, yeah.
One of the numbers you presented, Bob, I was having a difficult time following. For example, on the golf course, they had a projected loss for the year of $235,000, but budgeted loss. Is that correct? That's correct. So the difference then, we're expecting to lose $85,000 more anticipated to be at budget. If you take golf, yacht club, and aquatics, not only are those losses greater, but the percentage is pretty substantial. And just golf, yacht club, aquatics add up to $190,000. A lot of money. I think we need to budget that. Am I correct, then? Yesterday's meeting, this is my last item. Yesterday's meeting, gentleman made, Slobodan Trednik, made public comments about whether we needed 2 kitchens. He said he had done a lot of research, finished his public comment. No board member even asked him a question, seeing whether it's a good idea or not to have 2 kitchens. Here's an interesting thing. We have public comments in which the board generally takes a position that the board itself should not get involved in interaction with members. And you do from time to time. That's not a strict rule. Sometimes it's brought up yesterday. But association members are limited to 5 minutes, and the board may or may not elect to even respond to them or answer questions. Your prerogative. And yet, on the agenda, typically, the thing from media question. Media people don't even have to be association. So in some ways, we're giving media people greater access to the board of directors than we give association members. Think about it. But at any rate, I went and looked up, Bob mentioned yesterday, when someone started to respond to me that he was following the rules. I went and looked up the rules of order for meetings of the board of directors. There's no rules in here about the board can't interact or make comments. None at all. I would also suggest that it's not the general manager's place to make, under your own guidelines, the chairman, presiding officer of the board is the one to make those kinds of decisions. And if anyone, Bob or any other board member, has a problem with what the association member is saying is going, they should request the president to take some action, not take action. I just think that some association members come here, for example, Mr. Sliverdon, may have been one of his first meetings. He's an articulate, educated, good man. And he doesn't understand all. So I think the board needs to consider it. Thank you.
My name is Slobodan Trendic, 20 Drawbridge Road.
Hey, Slobodan, were we disrespectful to you? I'm confused by what you just said. Well, then what are you saying?
What I said was, see, let me give you an example. The board said nothing after public comment. The gentleman's told the board yesterday, done a lot of research, he offered some ideas. Everybody sat there as though they were puppets, saying nothing. It harkens
That's a
back.
value judgment on your part, I think.
Yes, it is.
I don't like being called a puppet. You know, I'm not a
If I sat
puppet.
there and
You know,
did
I was giving this gentleman the courtesy of hearing him out, and he made some excellent points. And some of that was addressed at this meeting the other day, and some was not.
Thank you. Next.
Okay.
Okay, so first of all, this is not going to discourage me from coming again. I think I'm learning. I think we all can agree on one. We all have intentions. There's always the upside in everything. Occasionally, there's a downside. I don't want to go this route anymore. I'm sure things will be sorted out and decided as far as kitchen or any other issues. It's on the table. Those that are interested in what I've learned and research that I've done, I'm happy to sit down and share them. The only comment and suggestion I want to make at this time is really related to your most recent plan, where we see ourselves as defenders. And the only suggestion, just in case I don't get a chance to interact with the planning or analysis, it would be good to know how we look today as a community access to census.
We
Census
have,
result.
if I may,
That would be a great information to kind of analyze, and then
Slobodan, we have a very good picture of statistically and you know, from a demographic standpoint where we stand right now. What we don't have is a really good forecast of where we're going to stand 10 years from now. And I personally like to extend an invitation to you to volunteer and join the Comprehensive Plans Committee so that
happy
you
to
can
accept that
participate.
invitation.
Forms are right across the
Getting
street.
the paper, let's move.
Thanks for volunteering.
Thank you.
What am I getting myself into?
Aren't you glad?
Stand up and talk.
Meeting, plan for happy hours also. I mean,
Well, we can. You once you're on the committee, you can influence it any way you like.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Eldon Seifert from 4 Falconbridge. I had 2 comments. One comment has to do with the coming opening of the yacht club. I think that's going to be a very significant event. And I hope that there's a very comprehensive marketing plan put together along with the opening, so that we can get publicity out to all the membership, outside people, and like talk about, I know Marty's talked about incentives. Maybe there's some incentive members could get to come if they come the first week, the second week, whatever. Because you only get one chance to make the first impression. And if you don't do it right, you stuff $5 million and we'll start losing. So I think it would behoove, I don't know who would generate that, whether it's a board or whatever, but I think it's going to be critical to make the yacht club a success in the long run. That's all for that. Now, I have one other thing. This is a page from the website. It's about leaf collection. And it says that you can bring your leaves over to the public works yard starting the 18th of November.
I'll follow up on it.
Yeah, because your slide said the 24th. And since I live in the Pines, that's critical to me, because I got lots of...
Call me tomorrow. I'll give you Greg.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I can just add to that. A quick answer is yes, because I was there on Monday morning with a trailer and I got rid of my leaves. So they did start accepting it.
Yeah, I don't want to publicize
I knew you could probably get in, but I just wanted to clarify that basically the website doesn't...
No, fair enough. Thank you.
Anybody else? I just want to repeat the comment. You are absolutely correct. We get one shot for the first impression. You are so right. Thank you. Yep. Okay. Anybody else? Yep.
On the topic of public comments, something that's really bothered me since the last meeting and has been written about a little bit in the media, but I believe incorrectly. We had a gentleman that came up here, made his feelings known, okay, said something that I don't believe should have been said, pointed his finger in the general manager's face and said, "You enjoy discriminating against people." Now, that was written and on social media here and said artists also addressed the issue of lifetime golf memberships, saying they represented age discrimination by not providing the option for younger association members to purchase one. I'm glad that the president has decided to keep open public comments because I get some input from public comments. They shouldn't be just they shouldn't just be restricted to what's on the agenda, but they need to be public comments. They need to be done correctly. That, I believe, was slander when he pointed his finger in the gentleman's face and said that you enjoy discriminating against people, especially when what he said was absolutely wrong. In the lifetime memberships, there is a concept for people under 50. He was talking about discriminating against folks under 50, and he was absolutely incorrect on that. Now, and also on social media, it says, watch the video. Please do that, because if you would watch the video, you would see that nobody said a word about any of that, anything that he said about raises and all that. Nobody said a word about that until he did the comment about discriminating against people. Then I and a couple of board members objected to that, said it was inappropriate. After that, Ms. Moore prompted the general manager to say something, and that's when he said those comments were ugly and unacceptable. And I, quite frankly, believe wholeheartedly they are ugly and unacceptable at that point to do that to anybody, much less. Let me go back. I sat back there in that back chair and listened to the audio. At that same meeting, you listen to the audio, and if you listen closely, you'll hear somebody who I believe was that same gentleman laughing, saying that he was a substitute for Dutch. Well, I sat back there in that chair for how many meetings and listened to that the gentleman mentioned, Dutch, come up here and talk about needing to investigate the general manager from this and needing to investigate the general manager about that with no factual basis. I also believe that, in my opinion, that that's slander. And enough is enough. It is ugly. It is inappropriate. And every time I'd sit back there and I'd say, why aren't they doing something about this gentleman every month? And I would get, well, he's older and his wife's sick and all that kind of stuff. So what? I'm sorry, but you do not slander anybody in this organization, any employee in this organization. And if we don't start doing something about it as directors, taking care of and taking up for all our employees, whether it be the general manager or whether it be a guy that we just hired yesterday to cut grass, then shame on us. I'm sorry, but I had to get that off the chest.
Mr. President, after that grant.
Yeah.
Gentleman's name is Ernie Harvis.
I know who it is. I have it written right here.
I want to carefully listen. Now, you can make a lot of mountains out of molehills about what Harvis had to say. At Brute, your rant just now so magnifies it out of all proportions what he said. What he said was that he believed, his opinion, that by not having lifetime memberships for very young people, that it was age discrimination. Whether that's true or not doesn't make any difference. It was his opinion.
It's not what he said.
And for that to be called, what did he say?
He said, pointed his face in the man's face from about a foot away and said, you enjoy discriminating against people. And then he went to, then he goes to, something else and then says, well, that's my opinion. But he had already gone over that.
That man, among all his stuff, not a major public speaker, not a politician, he makes a comment and he says, you enjoy discriminating people. That deserves that kind of a rant you just put on?
Absolutely, because I've seen it and I've sat back there and watched it go on for years.
Okay.
It's gotten to be commonplace, and I'm not putting up with it.
Okay. The only guideline I've had for the 4 years that I've sat in this chair has been, I will not allow a member of our community to attack a staff member who is not present. That is unfair. I've already told Bob many times that you're in the seat, this is your job. You put up with it to some level. As you saw at that meeting, last meeting, I even reacted to the level of the positioning and various things that went on. Sitting here in this chair, unless this board directs me differently, I am not going to limit the topic things that people can say. Not going to do that. The working session, we do limit the comments to what's on our agenda for discussion because it's a working session that we invite the community to be proactively involved with. Can't have that level of interface here in these meetings. But I'm not going to change the rules when it comes to that. But I do think some level of civility is important and valuable so that honest exchange can happen. And if we end up disagreeing with each other, that's fine. And if we do, that's fine. And again, if someone wants to respond, as Dan did earlier, says, may I respond to that? The answer is yes, go ahead. So there's not a fixed rule that says we can't go back and forth as we just did. But it can't dominate the whole meeting. And so the rules haven't changed, but I do think we hit a spot at the last meeting where we needed to back up a little from the level of rancor that was going on. So I'll move on from that to...
I'd like to comment.
Yep, go ahead, Mike.
I appreciate anybody that takes their time to come in and speak before this board against us, for us. And I can say that better than anybody, because if anybody was at the meeting where there was a standing line at the door, talk badly about me, I don't remember getting all that upset about it. The only thing I can remember being upset about, and this is just real quick, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And one public comment person sitting at this table stood up at the meeting in Ocean Pines open meeting and accused me of beating up, or what was the words he used, browbeating another member at an advisory committee meeting. He wasn't even there, and it never happened.
And that was the gentleman next to you.
Yes, it was this gentleman right
He's
here.
looking at me. I know.
People in glass houses shouldn't throw stones.
Okay.
Wow.
Enough. We're done.
Technically, you did. Actually, if you'd slandered me, you'd have heard.
Exactly. So it didn't happen.
On to another topic that will have no rancor to it at all. Budget and finance guidance from Bill Cordova.
Okay, well, I sent this out. We went over at the last meeting, and I got no responses. So there's no changes to the last meeting. We need to read it again, go over it.
Let me give you
changes
some.
that we made.
I did this verbally. I didn't write it to you, but let me get at least my comments. Under the budget, capital budget section of paragraph, right next to the date 2014, I'd like to insert in parens $130 so that it's very clear the 26 per year increase over 5 years equals $130 for capital money. And that next year's budget, this document reads that 130 stays at 130. It does not go up, nor does it disappear. To make it very clear that it's $130, not, yeah, okay.
And I've made that same comment in writing at least once.
Okay.
I think twice. And it's not 204. It's not 2014. Oh wait. Yeah.
It is.
Sorry. Yeah.
Well, that's correct.
It's not a $26 annual. I mean, this is doing it the hard way. It's $30.
It's right next to the.
Okay.
All I'm clarifying is that it says it was the increase per year over the 5-year growth of the 5-year funding plan added up to $130 a year. It's not $26 a year. It's $130.
Yeah, I get that. So how do you just submitting
I'm just putting a parens in next to that to make it clear it's $130.
in between the 2014 and 2020?
Right. And then at least that's changed. Clarification I would make. And then under IRS matter, third sentence down, it should read in my mind, and include the $130 component covered under the capital budget to support the facility capital costs. I don't want it to be implied that there's two different $130. There's only one. Right now, this could be implied that there's two of them. There's only. Go ahead, Mike.
Right above that, can I not?
Sure.
And help me here. It says $16 component by my math. So
It's
$20.
20. I agree with you, Marty. That was my question, too.
No, we actually skipped a year. One of the $4 did not go to that. We 4 of the 5 years was a $4 component.
Where's it going now? We certainly increased the budget $4. I mean, where'd it go?
But isn't that the non-reserve reserve account? Pardon me for using that terminology. Set up
Recovery fund?
to
That's where this
create
has
a
been
recovery
going on.
fund.
16. Oh, 20's been
The whole 20's been going into that.
I don't know where the 16 is. I agree with you, Marty. I think
It's
it's
$20.
$20. I mean, from here on, it's $20 going into it.
Well, look what it is. It's $20 being set aside.
It was
out of
$4 a year for 5 years.
It's $20. We can say $1 for 20 years. It's $20.
Well, you can laugh all you want. The reality is that in the last year's dues, for the purposes of setting aside money for the IRS, it was $16, $4, and there's lots of numbers here, folks. I don't remember exactly where that 4 went, but I don't object to us saying, let's make it the 20 and we're done with it, so that it's clear where that money's going.
Unless that,
I'm not arguing with that.
Unless that $4 is earmarked somewhere else. That's really our question.
Just make it 20, I'm fine with that.
Okay, go back to the original 30. Where do you want to put that verbiage?
And then component, in between the word component and the word to, covered under the capital budget. And then the rest of the sentence stays the same. I just want to make it very clear that there isn't two 130s, there's only one. That was the only update I had to this. Sure.
I have 3. 2 you've heard so many times you'll throw something at me. That's okay. There is no facility action plan, period. Unless somebody wants to show me where we voted for any such action.
Where are you, Marty? I'm sorry.
Anywhere you want to look. It's written a couple times.
You mean this?
Would you give me one, for instance,
Yes.
so I know where you are?
Capital budget, last sentence. Organized and outlined in the facility action plan.
That is the catch-all phrase that is used to the rack and stack that I referred to earlier. So we'll go look at that document, figure out what wording is on that document. That's
It's not that. Second, mentioned
You got it, says.
mentioned a dozen times. By the way, I've sent this all in writing, and I've not heard back much on it. The 5-year funding plan. If somebody can show me where there's been a 5-year funding plan placed on my motion, seconded, discussed, and voted, we can leave it in there. If not, it ought to come out. There ain't no such animal. Lastly, we're still not utilizing the depreciation of roads for roads.
I understand it is, and the last sentence is include a line item budgeting for roads.
Now, Marty's correct. This sentence, as I read it, says you put a line item in there. It doesn't mean that road depreciation necessarily gets put in.
Depreciation?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Maybe we could use the depreciation and put it with the $4.
But just for the audience so they'll understand, the road depreciation in Ocean Pines, we've always depreciated the dollars, but because there was money coming from the state to help up until 4 years ago, because there was money coming from another source, that depreciation was captured in the books, was not made part of the annual dues. We now, of course, we all know that the money from the state is not coming any longer. This gas money, tax money is being kept at Annapolis for other reasons. We now have, the board voted, I forget how many years ago now, we voted to have the casino money be earmarked for using for roads, and then it's a matter of whether or not that casino money lines up effectively with the road maintenance plan. Does it pay the bill? Does it or not? So this, I believe the concept, this actually came from the Budget and Finance Committee, was to insert a line item in the budget so that in the discussions, when the budget's being developed, that line item is there and available to put some dollar amounts in it to make sure that our source of money lines up with our need for paving. So that was from the Budget and Finance Committee suggestion. That came from us. Put that in there as a placekeeper so that we have a place to put it if in fact we need to take all or part of that depreciation and start applying it, because the state's not going to show up.
No.
If I may, when I read this, I don't see depreciation. Am I misreading?
No, it's just saying the line item is there to be used.
Well, go ahead. Let's go back. That's a really good question, because the last line of that ends with the roads project study. I don't know if you know about a roads project study. I don't. But in that study, I would hope that it does say, hey, use the depreciation on the road to fund the replacement of the road down.
Okay, we don't have a formal road study that actually does that. Our road study is an evaluation of the conditions of the roads. So it wouldn't refer to any funding. Secondly, the reason, Tom, I asked to speak there is when you talk depreciation, now you're talking about putting money from the assessment into, we have the budget for it through the assessment, but this, and I think, Bill, you said it's from the Budget Finance Committee. As part of the budget, road costs should continue to utilize casino funds. That's different than depreciation funds.
Yes, this doesn't speak of depreciation at all.
But you said depreciation.
I said the line item is there if we want to use it.
Marty is strongly suggesting, in fact, we use depreciation in here, right?
Yes, I mean, the question is, last year's budget, $360,848 in road depreciation. If we collected it, it ought to go into roads.
We did not collect it. That's what, it is not in the dues.
It is not collected in dues. This comes up every year. It's a line item that's required. And again,
We didn't collect depreciation for furniture and equipment?
Yes, we did.
We did. You're trying to change. I'm giving you the correct answer from the county standard. If we need to bring TGM to articulate it again, we do not actually collect those funds for the roads.
Okay, for the purposes of the board, I personally talked to TGM about this and our accounting group. and said, do we or do we not include the depreciation of the roads in the dues for our members? The answer to that was no, we do not. That doesn't mean we can't, but up till now we can't. However, we are required by accounting procedures to list that depreciation on the books so that it's shown on the books. We have never taken that 360 and embedded it into the dues formula.
Where is it?
It's
Page 1 of your budget.
No. Where's the 360?
There's no dollars.
I understand. We're not double counting, are we?
no.
We're not, but we have to track it.
I
This is from
understand.
PGM.
I
For
got
tracking,
you.
yeah, no, it's a good question. For tracking purposes, they assign a number based on expenditures on the roads, and depreciation of the roads based on whatever we spent before. So there is not a dollar amount being put. This
Understood.
says we're using casino funds, and that has worked for us, and that would be the continuing plan. I just don't want any confusion from a standpoint, if we're doing the budget, if all of a sudden I need to start to include depreciation, which would increase.
This does not say that. This simply says put a line item there if we as a board are not convinced that the monies from the casino are going to meet the demands for our paving. And that information is going to come from you and the team, the study of that. If we don't think that's going to cover it, then we have a very tough decision to make as to whether or not we start taking some of that depreciation and put it into the dues.
Right.
It's going to be a very tough decision to make. But the suggestion from the Budget and Finance is to have the line item there so that it's available in the book, in the planning. It's available if we want to use it, so we don't have to. So I'm in favor of putting the line item there. I don't want to sit here today and make the decision to move $360,000 worth of depreciation into the dues. I'm not ready to do that, unless you are. I'm not. I think the line item gets us to where we need to
About
be.
$43 a person.
Yeah, it's about $43 per person, and I'm not ready to vote to do that. But the line item puts it in place for us to use.
I'm not as smart as you guys are. This is the first page of the budget, and it has a total depreciation of $1,731,000 and blah, blah. It's in there. In our audited financial statement, under operating funds, under expenses, there's $1,700,000 in depreciation.
I can only explain it one more time. It's
Okay,
in the books,
what you're
it's
saying
there.
is I
When
don't
the
know how to
dues
read
are
this.
set, that dollar is not added. Dollar is not used to be divided by 8%.
There was $1,700,000 that was divided between us last year.
I'd
According
be
to the
repeating
audited
myself again. All I can
You don't need to.
Good.
We're not, I'm going to have to research this. There's no reason
PGM can help
we
you.
should be collecting money in reserves to replace our roads. It's the definition of a reserve account.
I have no argument with that. We'll debate that when we get to the budget. And we have not been. Your point's well taken, Marty. I don't disagree with you that when the money disappeared from the state, we're well over $1 million behind on money from the state right to pave our roads. This is not a small issue. You and I really aren't in
Well over $2 million.
Well, we're well over one, so you add it up however you want. It's a lot of money. Okay, any other changes to this document? Okay, I'll bring it up. Do we really still want to have the assistant general manager wording in here? Okay. Any other changes? I have a motion to approve this document as edited here in this meeting as changed.
You repeat the edits so I'm clear on what they are. Capital budget, third paragraph down, we're changing, or adding word $130 after the year 2014, correct?
Yes, between 2014, parentheses.
No, okay. And then on the second page on IRS matters, line 2, we're changing the $16 to a $20 figure. Are those the only, and the word a to the on the third line?
Include the $130 component covered under the capital budget portion of this document to support. You have to add in covered. You have to reference it back over to the capital budget so that it doesn't look like we're talking about two different.
Covered under the capital budget. Okay.
That's the, and then wherever it says facility action plan, we will find the name of that document and change the wording to that. Whatever that wording is that's on that. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion to approve it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Guys, I'm not going to vote for it because it's basically the same exact document for the last 5.5, 6 years, written by, no offense, Pete Gopsack. If he didn't write it, then I have to accuse you of copy. It's the same document, and I didn't like it 5 years ago, and I don't like it now. So my discussion's been.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Yacht Club budget.
Okay, I have a proposed motion here, and I have a copy of the motion for the press. Please see. Based upon the presentation of November 19, 2013, I move that the Board of Directors approve the requested funding not to exceed $456,000 for the new professionally designed kitchen equipment and goods and sound system, moving and storage cost, and signs and miscellaneous wiring, which is low voltage, for the new Yacht Club facility, as presented during the Board of Directors working session on November 6, 2013. It is understood with the approval of this motion that there are no expected additional funding requests needed to complete the Yacht Club project.
Have a second? I'll second that motion.
Background. The Board of Directors had requested to have the new Yacht Club facility kitchens designed by a professional kitchen design company. The final kitchen designs did not include the use of any of the existing Yacht Club equipment, as the majority of it was in such poor condition or disrepair and functionally obsolete to meet current code and kitchen flow. Discussion. Meeting and discussion with Harkins Construction, AWB Engineers, Savoy Brown, Worcester County, and the Yacht Club implementation team have determined to achieve maximum efficiency, meet current code, and complete the facility with a 40-plus year life cycle. New kitchen equipment is the appropriate and best way to proceed. Respectfully submitted, Sharon O'Hare.
Discussion, Dan?
Yeah, and this is a question to our general manager. In the motion verbiage itself, the last line, Bob, says, "It is understood with the approval of this motion that there are no expected additional funding requests needed to complete the Yacht Club project." Are you willing to subscribe to that?
Ooh, I am. Yeah, I think what we, and it's a good question, I think what we have found, that the what ifs that are going to grab us were underground, the utilities and things, so we're by that. And kitchen equipment's the single biggest piece in the replacement. So I believe, and we even looked, and Marty asked the question yesterday about the furniture. So yeah, we've tried to look at everything in detail. Oh, I'm sorry, Jack.
I did. Marty was very, very gentlemanly yesterday.
Okay. So I believe that we have covered everything in detail. So I don't see any surprises coming from this.
Good. Thank you.
How are we going to pay for it? Contingency's gone. All in, we're $400,000 more than approved the referendum. How are we going to pay for it? not build a new health club?
First, has nothing to do with the health club. What we'll do is, for those that recall how we're paying for the yacht club facility as a whole, and you'll remember when I say this, we're collecting approximately $1.1 million a year to go into reserve funds for major capital projects. What this would mean, we were budgeted to pay off the yacht club in full 2018. I think it was the number that we'd come up with. So what that would mean is part of the 2019 funding, because with continuation of the 5-year plan, which would be the 1.1 million, we would just we'd take part of that 2019 year.
Under discussion. We heard about this. I mean, I think everybody knew we're going to have problems with the kitchen. But we basically got these numbers November 6th. November 8th in writing, I requested a list of the equipment so I can compare, which I know some of you guys don't think that I overdo my job. I'll fall in that category any day. I want to know where these numbers come from. I got the information at the beginning of the meeting today. By the way, what a waste of paper. Look at this. Give me a minute, I'll check this. I had 3 meetings scheduled that I could never have because I never had the equipment in order to compare some of this stuff with experts who I know in the field. And people that were willing to give their free time to help, which is what we're supposed to do, guys, seek help. For when I don't know anything about kitchens, other than that's where the toaster and the coffee is. I'm not going to vote for this. I mean, how can you?
We sought help. We paid for help. And the referendum said that we were going to hire a professional kitchen designer. That professional kitchen designer gave us what we needed according to what we told them that we were going to be using. And he's an expert in the field. I'm going to take his word. We're paying him to look out for us. And I don't know why we had to look any farther. When we hired an expert, we paid for an expert for this. He wasn't some schmo off the road.
You're absolutely right. He already gave you one price of $159.4, and now he's giving you a price of $600. Same guy is in the literature from the yacht club flyer. It's Savoy Brown. That's who told you it was going to be $159. He's only off 300%. He told you the Ansel systems and events were going to be. He was off what? 500% on that. So we do have an expert. I'll just rest and let us go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not going to let that statement stand.
Well, what Marty, let me just recall, and I think I'm right on this. Didn't the individual say, what's his name, Rob Brown?
Yes.
Didn't he say that he has had several conversations with perhaps? No, I think he said he had a conversation with an inspector from Worcester County, and they were looking at equipment that was going to be reutilized, taken out of the old, the old yacht club, stored, and then reutilized in the new yacht club as kitchen. And maybe I misheard something, but I heard that was 75% of the kitchen equipment that was estimated to be reusable. And based on the close inspection, let's put it that way, of that equipment, together with some conversations with the county vis-a-vis a inspector, that equipment could not be used. So therefore, the original number goes elsewhere. It goes down the drain. It's no longer valid. I find myself between a rock and a hard place with this. I had nothing to do with the budget process or anything of that nature in building this yacht club, but we are where we are, and we just can't walk away from a $4.3 million project and let it go fallow. And we have a decision that we have to make, and that decision is we're going to allow the kitchen to be built. I mean, the decisions have been made before we got on the board, at least before I got on the board anyway. You agree, Marty?
No, I don't agree. I think that we should be getting better answers than being 300% over budget. What you just said, everything you said is true. Everything you said is true. Why didn't somebody ask the county back when we spent a fortune with AWB, who, by the way, did the yacht club inspection back in, whatever date, September of 11, how come we didn't pick up on all this equipment being ratty then? If I was building your kitchen and came in 300% over budget, I wouldn't be able to go out my front door.
You don't know Connie.
I can't
Put that in the minutes, Michelle. I don't think you should do that.
No, put that in the.
Okay.
No, don't do that.
I didn't remember you wanted.
I wasn't remembering what that either. But I'm going to read it one more time. The $4.3 million is all inclusive for the project. In addition to the construction cost of the new facility, this price includes demolition of the existing building, site, planning, new kitchen equipment, furniture, additions. Do I need to read on?
No, you don't.
Yeah, and
Because-
one other thing too, Marty, and I know Bob may relate to this later, but a friend of mine came forward who is a major player in a bakery company in the Baltimore, Schmidt's Bakery in Baltimore, and he donated those trailers out there so that the association wouldn't have to pay for the storage of that daggone thing, or stuff. So I'm assuming that there were some well-intentioned people here as far as all this equipment is concerned and that kind of.
Thank you, and thank you to your neighbor who donated the trailers. And we're still over budget on storage.
Oh, question.
Call the question.
I'd like to say something.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Entitled. You're entitled.
No, I think it's important that we understand that when the original work was put together, as Jack has referenced, 75% of the equipment, or somewhere around that number, over $200,000 of it, was earmarked to be reused. There were sessions with the county back then. There were numerous sessions, discussions about the building and all that before these things happened, before this budget was developed for the building. And now we can't use the equipment, both because of its condition and we're being told by the county we can't use it. So it's not a matter of someone trying to, when you say $300, yes, we're over budget. I don't like voting for this. I don't like this situation any more than anybody else sitting up here or anybody that was on this board when we voted for the referendum material to go out. It doesn't make me happy that this has happened. But the bottom line is when you are told that the $200,000+ worth of equipment can't be reused, which also causes $80-some thousand worth of ventilation equipment to not be able to be reused either. That's $380,000 of this 456, and some of them, I don't remember that it was off the top page, that all of this is very specifically spelled out for us on November 6th, where it came from. We had almost a 2-hour meeting just yesterday with the folks who caused, and if you remember, it kept going back to how did we get from A to B? What caused this to happen? And I think we heard the answers to it. Did I like the answers? No. So I have a right to have a comment here. I'm not happy with having to do this either. But short of telling the county that you can't tell us we can't use the equipment, I don't want to go down that road. So I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed?
I'm going to abstain, but I'd like to know the name of the person at the county level that told us we could not use it. The name that I heard from Ron Brown yesterday doesn't work for the county. So
Actually, I'm going to stand up for Mr. Brown, who isn't here, he did say Mr. Ed Potash, who does work for the county.
Okay, he's not in the health department,
Really?
is he?
I was going to say, I know he's there, so Rob did not lie about
I
it.
didn't say live. I said I couldn't find the name. I didn't have it. That's the name.
Okay,
What is the name?
Ed
Say it one more
Potash.
time.
Ed Potash.
okay, I need a motion to take a motion off the table. To take Jack's
So
motion
moved.
off the table. Another second?
Jack can't make that motion, but I can.
Can.
I'm to take motion last month's meeting, regular meeting off the table.
Have a
I
second?
mean, to put it back on the table.
Back on the table.
We're putting a motion that we tabled last
We
month.
voted to table a motion, we now need to vote
Now,
to take it
I
off.
just made a motion to put it back on the table.
Not a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. Jack, you're on.
Okay, I introduced this motion really in good faith. Good faith in terms of the Budget and Finance Committee wanting to offer the Board of Directors and the General Manager some expertise and assistance in developing capital and operating budgets. If I've done one budget, I guess I've done about 10 or 20 in my lifetime in corporate America. And I never really had to sit down and physically go through, well, in my younger days I did, but as I grew up through corporation and was able to garner more and more responsibility, I had some very good people around me, people that I could rely on. And what I would do is give them the direction, either coming from the CEO or the board, as to where this particular organization was going. And I would act as a manager, a true manager of the process. There were individuals who were overly aggressive in terms of their revenues. There were other individuals who were under-aggressive in terms of their revenues. The same thing on the expense side. The benefit of this approach that I'm asking the folks to consider here in this motion is to take the offer from the Budget and Finance Committee to assist in the development of the budget for the association. And the benefit of doing that, in my estimation, is multifaceted. It allows the board to be exposed to a myriad of ideas because the committee is composed of volunteer members who have roots in the neighborhood. And what that means is that they're getting input from people that they interface with every day. And they bring those ideas back to the board level. So it gives us an idea of what the sense of the community is and what is important to the community. So they can bring the feelings, concerns, and the resolutions to any kind of challenges from those neighborhood levels to us. It offers the GM and the department manager support and assistance in meeting the demands of the budget creation, which is a time-consuming job. It will allow the GM and the department heads to focus on duties of the day-to-day management and allows the board to manage the fiduciary responsibility of the membership because the input has been received from various sources within the community. Basically, I call it a win-win-win. And that was the true genesis behind offering this. It is totally voluntary. Bob can just say, thank you, but I'm not going to use them this year. Or he may say, yeah, I think I will use them. I will use some of that expertise. It's entirely up to him. Therefore, with that premise, I offer the following resolution with the following amendments. In the first portion, the Budget and Finance Committee may is inserted and the words is charged with and the ing in assisting is taken out so that the sentence reads, the Budget and Finance Committee may assist the general manager and the department heads in the preparation of the annual capital and operating budgets, and periodically advise the board, taking out the word advising, advise the board of directors through the GM of its progress as required by resolutions CO3, FO2, Article 8 of the bylaws. Second, the Budget and Finance Committee is able to, in replacing the words charged with the. So the sentence reads, the Budget and Finance Committee is able to review, assist, taking out the word assistance, and develop, taking out the words development of, the capital and operating revenue projections from the GM and the department heads by focusing of a business plan supporting those revenue calculations under the direction of the GM. The committee would assist when developing these business plans. These revenue projections are to be monitored for variances of 5% or greater by the committee and at the department level with the supervision of the GM. Adjustments to the department's business plan caused by a 5% variance are to be reported to the board through the GM as required by resolutions FO2. Last, the Budget and Finance Committee could, I'm removing the word should, review the performance measurements by the department as established by the GM. The results of this review to be reported to the board with recommendations through the GM. And importantly, in summary, I'm saying the purpose of this motion is to broaden the responsibility of management, allowing them to focus on solutions to challenges of the membership. And I'm talking about Bob and his department heads. This should be viewed as a positive step forward, increasing the efficiency of our operation in general and creating openness between staff and volunteers. The logistics of this process should be determined by the GM, the committee, and the department heads jointly in order to achieve maximum effectiveness and cooperation. All I'm saying is there's people out there that know what in heaven's name they're doing. Why not tap into that good expertise? You leverage that expertise at the operating level.
We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion, second. Discussion.
Mr. President, can we set aside the regular order and invite Dennis Hudson up to join us? Did he leave?
Yes.
Snuck out? Get out of here. Knew the question was coming. Dennis, you think? I take that back. Thank you. Comments? Item 1 says periodically advise the board through the GM of its progress as required by resolution, etc. I don't like the through the GM part of that particular item. Item 2, the Budget and Finance Committee is able to review, assist, and develop the capital and operating revenue projections from the GM and department heads by the focusing of business plans and revenue calculations. I don't understand. I do understand focusing. I don't understand who's generating the business plan and having it focused on. Is that being done by the general manager, or is that being done by the committee?
Being done by the general manager. If the general manager wishes to utilize the input and expertise of the committee, he may do so.
Okay. We do have on our committee, each one of our committees, a staff member sitting there. As I recall, the Finance Committee has Mr. Carmine at all of its meetings and plugged in, and Mr. Carmine does report to the general manager. So item 2 is happening, as far as I'm concerned, at this point in time. Item 3, the Budget and Finance Committee could review performance measurements by a department established by the GM. Bob, do you have established performance requirements by department?
No, is the best way to answer that. Because I don't know what this is referring to. This is a confusing document to me. The measurements for me, example, David at the Yacht Club, we hold accountable for his production, his staff, revenue, those items. Teresa with marketing, hold her to her budget. Are we getting projects like website out? So every one of them are different when you're talking about the type of performance measurements. It's based on their duty and whatever their job specifications are. So I can't say there's a broad brush. They're all very, very different.
Last question, and this again is directed to the general manager, and I would like a blunt response. How do you feel about this particular motion? You've already said that you're not quite sure about the language. The reason I'm asking, let me finish, sir. The reason I'm asking this is that it is my understanding in Ocean Pines that the budget for Ocean Pines is in fact the general manager's budget, which he submits formally to the board of directors for the board of directors review and approval, change, or whatever. And that advisory committees work for the board of directors in order to provide the assistance implied and directed in this motion in doing that evaluation and getting back to the general manager. So I'm having a little bit of a problem understanding why we want to change our current system, which this motion implies to me that we're going to change in order to get to the same place. Are you comfortable with the change, and do you feel that this would be helpful?
I appreciate Jack's. He's worked hard over the last couple of months, not only on trying to craft this. He's been into my office at least 3 times, kind of trying to help me understand the intent. I believe his intent is strong. He's just trying to get some more help, get me some more help when we're doing this. However, ultimately, the budget is my responsibility to present to the board. The resolutions are clear on it. The bylaws are clear on it. What's most interesting with this, and I wish Dennis was still here, of the 3 years prior, last year was by far the best budget process, in my opinion, if you compare it to the prior years that were extremely antagonistic. Dennis did a great job. We actually did all of this without this motion in place. We actually put the budget together, gave it to the Budget and Finance Committee. Dennis and his team reviewed it, and then we sat, myself and each department head, with the committee and went through line item by line item, much like we do with the board. It not only helped us prepare for the board meetings better, it not only helped us make some changes in the budget, it also helped us prepare to answer questions deeper than we would have. So this is actually extremely confusing because I thought last year was the best process we had, and it indeed did utilize the B&F committee extensively, and their help was, I thought, was very good. And I thought Dennis's leadership was excellent there, and it was really helpful for us. So this is just confusing to me after such a good year, why we're trying to do this. That's as blunt as I can be with it.
Well, since Dennis isn't here, I'll fill in for him the best I can. And then, Bill, you can chime in as the liaison to the committee. This is a matter of timing. Right now, the Budget and Finance Committee does not get any of the numbers until they are completely developed by the staff and you, Bob. They come in January, and they come in with, and I agree with you, the process worked very well last year at that level. What this is doing is empowering you, and from the board saying it is okay with us if you access the resources and the talent of that committee to help with working with any business cases you want to have help getting done, they can help. any review of revenue estimates that you want help, that they're, they are, it says may assist, it's all under you, but it's a matter of timing. This is giving you access to the Budget and Finance Committee prior to January, when the real roll up the sleeves work is being done in developing the budget, so that you have resources that can say, look, I need somebody to go look at, fill in the blank. And neither you nor your staff need to run off and do all the number crunching. They're there to help you do it. So that's the intent. It would be confusing to me if this was applying to January and later in the process. This is referring to prior to January, giving you access to this team from the board, saying to that committee, we know you are a committee of the board and that you report to us, and clearly understand you are not taking over the general manager's budget. It is his budget until we take it and vote for it. Then it's ours. Then we're the ones that own it at the same time. But time-wise, this is simply prior to January. The board's saying you have access to these people if you want to use them unencumbered, so that they can do some of the legwork for you. If you need help in looking at trends in business or whatever. So that's my understanding of what it is we're talking about.
Absolutely, and the problem that I had with the original motion was it says that we must use them to do this, must use them to do that. And, I would rather have somebody from the aquatics committee, be involved in the aquatics budget if we're saying you must do this, and somebody from, the other committees that deal with this, totally. But this is just saying the help is out there, if you need it, utilize it, and these folks are ready, willing to help if necessary.
The actual language, if you go to the second page, the logistics of this process should be determined by the GM, the committee, and department heads jointly. That's not what the bylaws say. And it's my job to present the budget. Now, I think I have...
That's in the summary. That's not in the motion itself.
I think this speaks to the intent of the material, or I say the intent. I don't think anybody was intending to overstep. But my point is... What's that?
I said I see your point.
Yeah.
The logistics of this need to be under your control.
Well, it's not a control issue. I have the responsibility, per the bylaws, to present a budget to the board for consideration. Part of that responsibility, if you read the resolutions, the Budget and Finance Committee plays a role in that. That role is reporting to the board. However, the general manager does have access if you read the particular resolution pertaining to it. I outlined that in an email a couple months ago. So if we follow the rule book, none of this is necessary. If we're not going to follow the rule book, this makes it confusing. And quite frankly, it puts me in a position, if I say I don't need your help, it pits me against the board and against the Budget and Finance Committee. I don't think that's reasonable. I'm prepared to go that route because it's my responsibility, but I don't think it's a reasonable position to put me in.
Do you need approval from the board for you to be able to speak and work with Budget and Finance Committee prior to the January time?
I do not.
Because the Budget and Finance reports to the board and not to you.
But there are provisions in the resolutions that allow me access for the preparation of the budget already in the resolution.
So right now, if you had a question about any department or any particular thing you needed more help, you could go to the Budget and Finance Committee and says, guys and gals, I need some help here.
Absolutely. And I've never had them withdraw from that. They've always been, at least while Dennis has been in that role, they've always been wide open and accepting of any help. I've never had them deny me help.
I think what Jack's intent here is, and Jack, I really appreciate you doing work done on this. You're trying to get the expertise that we have in this community to assist you, Bob, in the presentation of the most important thing you do is the budget. That's how Ocean Pines functions. So if it's the aquatics committee or if it's the whatever committee that has something that you I think what his intent, if I think I'm understanding you right, Jack, but you're trying to get them to be able to meet with you, sit down informally, and work it out, whatever needs to be worked out, with a business plan or goal setting or getting grants or whatever to help so that you can come up with numbers.
Which, again, we do that already.
Actually, you don't, because what you're doing is they're working off the budget you and your team have already developed. That's the issue.
Which is my responsibility per the bylaws to do. I'm not going to sit back and say, yes, I agree.
Well, I'm not suggesting you should.
So I'll go pull the resolutions and bylaws, which I have on my desk, which I highlighted and went into detail why this doesn't work for me. I hate that you're putting me in this position. I'm going to hold strong. I'm going to follow bylaws and resolutions. I do not want to be directed to violate those in any way or give any indication that we would. I've enjoyed the relationship this year with Budget and Finance. It was my intent to continue to work with them. This is going to make it difficult and unnecessary.
Mr. President, may I offer an amendment to this resolution?
Sure.
I would move that we amend this resolution in the following manner. Starting with the language, with this premise, I offer the following resolution, and add right behind resolution, consisting of 3 points. Hold. Then paragraph 1, the Budget and Finance Committee may assist the general manager and department heads in preparation of the annual capital and operating budget at the discretion of the general manager, removing and periodically advise the board to the GM of its progress as required by Resolution CO3 up to and Article 111 of the bylaws. Okay. Number 1 would read, the Budget and Finance Committee may assist the general manager and department heads in the preparation of the annual capital and operating budgets at the discretion of the general manager. Period. That's number 1. Okay. Number 2 and number 3 would remain as Jack has submitted as modified.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, do we have a second to that?
Have a second to the amendment.
I'll second it for discussion.
Jack?
Bob, I just want to get on the record, and I really appreciate your veracity in letting the few people sitting out here in this audience, people that are going to watch this on video, that you and I had, several discussions on this, and this really is well intentioned, and I'm sorry that. I would hope that you're not feeling threatened by this. What I believe you can do is utilize a heck of a lot more resources that are willing to step forward and offer their time and effort in order to do that. And this particular motion kind of expresses the sense of the board. The board, I think the board basically wants, I know the board wants you to succeed. And they want.
Sorry, I agree.
No, that's all right. The board wants you to succeed, and they want to give you tools necessary in order to do that. So this is not hamstringing you. This is not boxing you in. This is providing you an avenue through board resources to make your job a lot easier. I've mentioned this to you. You've got 26 balls up in the air, and I know you're young, you're vibrant, and you can handle it. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And if one or two of those daggone things drop, it's just not gonna. It's just not going to be good. So what I'm attempting to do here is to allow you to push aside some of the minutia, the real deep down minutia in coming through this budget process and utilizing expertise as you see fit. If you say, nah, I ain't going to do it, I haven't heard anybody here threaten you with any kind of repercussion. It's wide open to you. So,
Okay, I'm going to call the question on the amendment.
Mr. President, before you do that, if I may just defend this for a second.
Sure.
Jack, I think what I've suggested as a change goes exactly to what you just said. Simplify the first point, make it at the discretion of the GM very clearly. And with that,
it already is there, Dan.
well,
It's already
I don't think so. It's just that's why I offered the amendment.
Well, that's what makes the world go round, my friend.
Yes, it does. That's why it's on there.
I'll call the question on the amendment to the motion. All those in favor? Those? Okay.
If I may, Tom?
Sure.
And Marty's been kind enough to give me a copy of his bylaws. I should have just known he'd have a copy, which I appreciate.
You just copied the Constitution?
No, because this isn't the most current that I'm looking at. I've had, actually, no, 09 is the current version. No, 08. There's a revision. I'll have Teresa. I asked Teresa to go get it. I think the intent here is good. Please understand, I don't shy away from help on any of this. And I do appreciate that very much. The challenge is it's my responsibility. I can't be any clearer on it. I'll get, when Teresa brings it, I have all this highlighted because I already gave a written feedback to why this creates a challenge. Everything you're saying, and Dan, with your amendment, I think it does make it a little clearer, but it's still, you're telling me what I already have a right to do per the rule book, and you're handcuffing me. I mean, when you look at, and I'm not worried about being threatened even a little bit. Please understand, I appreciate that, Jack. I don't feel threatened. I'm holding firm because I don't think it's the right thing to do. Right in the overview, the sentence that says, this will allow the GM and department heads to focus on duties of day-to-day management. I don't have a choice. That is our job. It allows the board to manage the fiduciary responsibility to the membership because its input has been received from various sources within the community. That already happens. That's why you have a budget and finance committee review. So it's odd to me that we're going to try to recraft direction to me when the bylaws and resolutions are already clear on the matter. So that's where my confusion comes in. And again, I think I'm digging with a big backhoe, but I'm not backing off. You're going to force me to say, I don't accept this by the motion saying it's up to me to do. And then basically I'm telling you guys, no, I'm not going to follow your motion. Non-win situation for me. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not being a jerk about it. I don't like to be held accountable. And Marty, I stand corrected. This is August, so I think yours was May. You were pretty. That's not what I was looking for. I have mine that's marked up, but I'm telling you guys, it passed it. The annual budget. General manager shall prepare a proposed annual budget, submit to the board of directors not less than 90 days prior to fiscal year end. The budget shall provide financial plan for ensuring all years certain estimates. The proposed budget shall be reviewed by the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee, and the Board of Directors shall hold a public hearing prior to final approval of the budget by the board. Again, shall be reviewed by. So now you're telling me they're taking a more active role. I disagree. The bylaws are what I follow. If you look at resolutions, CO2, CO3, it clearly says what the Budget Finance Committee should or should not be doing and how they're supposed to do it. And we actually followed those last years. That's why this is so odd to me. It actually worked extremely well last year, and I thought we had a good process. Functions CO3, and this is not my highlighted version, but assisting the board and the general manager on requests on request, and this is with the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee, Resolution CO3, assist the board and general manager on request. I don't need you to tell me that. The rule book already tells me that. And financial planning, capital repairs. And again, I'm sorry isn't my highlight copy, but if you read through this, it allows me every opportunity to interact with the B&F committee for assistance in building the budget. So this confuses the issue. It forces me to say no, because I'm going to say no because it's not the right thing to do, and now I'm against you and the B&F committee. And that just doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather follow the rule book as written. The resolutions and the bylaws makes it simple.
Lou, you're the liaison to the budget.
This was, I wasn't even part of this. This was Jack and Dennis, I believe. I don't see where this changes anything that we're already doing. It doesn't mandate anybody. Doesn't mandate anybody to do anything. Doesn't mandate you as a general manager to do anything that's not already under your purview now and can be done.
And if that's the case, why do it? If it doesn't do anything more than what our book says, why are we even having a discussion on the motion? I'm not being rude about it, but we're creating a motion on top of resolutions, on top of bylaws. It doesn't make sense. And now I sound like the guy pushing away help. That's not the case. I just want to do it by the rule book.
Any other comments? Questions?
I think, Bob, what the board is saying is we want you to reach out to get help, to help you with this stuff, and the committees out there are all willing to do it. It is your choice when you do it, but we want you to use the assets in your community because you have some experts, some really good people.
Okay, and I agree with that. We do that now. So let me ask you, you're going to force me. All right, tell me on the Budget and Finance Committee who has run a restaurant.
I don't think anybody has it.
Okay, so the expertise for my restaurant budgets are...
They have, many of them have prepared some very detailed, there's been CFOs on that, there are CFOs in that, so there are people who've had experts in certain things. Running a restaurant, I don't know.
Right, so the expertise I need, given board interaction, that the yacht club, we need to do better budgeting at the yacht club. I have no expertise on the Budget and Finance Committee specifically to help me build a restaurant budget. There's no expertise there. I'm going to have to go out.
But they have access to guidelines, standards, things like that.
The national guidelines Mr. Hudson provided me with, which is very much appreciated, it's a national standard for restaurant. It's not a restaurant owned by a homeowners association, so there are some particulars that actually change. And again, that's why I didn't want to get into this. It looks like I'm pitting against folks that typically help me. I think if you look at the resolution, CO3, CO2, and the bylaws, I already have access to all of this. Again, I'm not trying to be a...
I understand what you're saying. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I am.
You are right now. I got it. But I think you have heard the board. The board say, there's experts out there. If you need help, ask them.
And I welcome that. And I welcome that.
All right.
Mr. President and Madam Vice President, General Manager is saying exactly what I would have hoped he would have said, given the fact that we just approved a modification to this resolution. In fact, that modification says at his discretion. So, I did that intentionally. I did that so that we could look at it and say, all right, we've offered a motion that sends a signal to the general manager because he is extremely sensitive to board signals, no matter how they, that says, we appreciate the fact that you're using committees now and we want you to continue doing it. But to layer it on top of existing regulations and existing bylaws and this was our argument when we tabled this the last time, is that all of the enabling facts exist. All this did was just highlight one of them. Again, we can keep killing trees by writing these kind of motions and putting them in books. But we just told Bob, okay, you can use it or not use it if you want to. Well, he already could use it or not use it. We're just duplicating an effort. Point's well taken. We sent the message.
I'm going to call a question on this motion. All those in favor?
Aye. Say that again. What?
Please.
Budget and Finance Committee may assist the GM and department heads in the preparation of the annual capital operating budget at the discretion of the GM. Budget and Finance Committee is able to review, assist, and develop capital operating revenue projections from the GM and department heads by focusing a business plan supporting those revenue calculations. Under the direction of the GM, the committee will assist when developing these business plans. These revenue projections are to be monitored for the variances of 5% or greater by the committee if the department head, with the supervision of the GM. Adjustments to the department's business plan caused by a 5% variance are to be reported to the board through the GM as 2. The Budget and Finance Committee could review performance measurements by department as established by the GM. The results of this review reported to the board with recommendations through the GM. That's the motion. That's the motion. Need a glass of water, yeah. All those in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
Who's the final?
4-2.
4-2.
New business, FO1.
Okay, this is first reading. I'm sorry I got it to you this afternoon. I was originally going to present it, and then I had the spelling error there, which I thought was significant to change the meaning of the last line. So I had some emails out. I heard back from Jim Trummel and got that taken care of, and then I had emailed Dennis Hudson, so he was going to state this. But it's just the last line. So this is the first reading on Resolution FO1, Investment Guidelines, OPA Operating Funds and Reserve Funds. Purpose, to establish guidelines for the investment of OPA operating funds and reserve funds in excess of balances required maintained in general checking accounts. These guidelines take precedence to and are in addition to those contained in the OPA Financial Management Policy Manual and the OPA Financial Management Procedures Manual. A, operating and /or reserve funds expected to be spent in the current fiscal year and the succeeding fiscal. 1, principal investment goal. The primary goal is capital preservation. 2, guidelines, management. The investment of these funds will be managed by the treasurer and the controller of OPA.
Bill, this is the first reading. Really, for the purposes of this, the board simply accepts or rejects the
Okay,
FO1
all right, that's fine.
Study if needed.
That's fine.
Maybe comment.
Yeah, sure you come.
But everybody does have the last correction. That would be
11.
amended.
11:20.
No, that I wrote on the back of your copy.
Change
Just to change these funds.
Says these funds.
Got it.
These
Mr.
funds.
President, I would move that this move that the board accept F1 as modified in the documents passed about today.
for first reading. For the first reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Another discussion?
Discussion, go.
You know, we have short memories in ocean finds. Well, first off, I think it's important, if we're going to be studying where our money is, has everybody looked at your controller's report for this month? 15% of our cash assets are shown on that sheet are uninsured. Uninsured. Over $1 million. No, I'm sorry, it's exactly $1 million. The last time we went out and hired a money manager, it was PNC Bank. And he had this great new investment opportunity called a limited maturity bond. It was great. We're going to get 5-6% on this. We lost 88,000 cash principal dollars. Why in the world would we think about going back to exactly what bit us on our hind last time? This money is not for us to invest. It's for us to protect. Principal goal and only goal should be that principal is protected. I'd rather have it in a insured, non-interest-bearing escrow account, as would some states, than have it out there in a limited maturity bond. Anybody want to hear some recent maturity bonds? General Motors, Detroit. It's a nice municipal bond. I'm not only just opposed to this, I'm fight it loud. And
Whoa! What do you? You lost me. What are you fighting?
putting our money out
No.
besides.
There's nothing.
Read it.
Marty.
Reserve funds will be managed by a third-party professional investment management firm approved by the board to submit detailed monthly fund performance reports. Have you seen the list of things that they're talking about? I have.
No.
Well, they include municipal bonds.
That's why there's something called a first reading, gentlemen. That's why we have a first reading. We're not voting for this document. It's obvious that you don't like it, and that's fine. I just got it. I haven't read it myself.
Okay.
Well, I think we
I
all
see
need
your
to
point.
get a
I
copy.
get your. I see your point.
We should
I see.
all have a copy. I'm not lecturing. This is just the way I. We should all have a copy of what the Budget and Finance Committee is thinking about, because I've seen it and it scares the crap out of me, and I'm fearless.
Call the question. All those in favor of accepting this for the first reading? Aye. Opposed?
Me.
Bob, I think you are taking steps to.
We are.
Of course. What else am I going to say?
Right.
Exactly.
We're gonna have.
Say, heck no, we're not doing anything.
We're gonna have $2,200,000.
Did you confer with Budget and Finance Committee on that?
No, sir, I did not. But we are looking at, because just as a side note, we are looking at some pledged collateral with one of the local banks against the amount of money we have because of the minimum level of the FDIC insurance. There's another way to get pledged collateral.
Repurchase agreements, I would assume.
So we'll get the certs with QSIP numbers. The whole.
Yeah.
I'll have that together, but that'll protect a large majority of the assets we have.
We
Yes.
have $1,250,000-ish in a local institution.
Yes.
And in another local institution, we have $6,000. We can move $245,000 out of the one account with the stroke of a check or a phone call or the punch of a computer.
Well, you're right, but if in fact he is looking at purchase agreements, what they are is nothing but U.S. short-term securities pledges collateral on deposits, and you generate what 0.1% interest on an overnight investment and that kind of a thing. So that kind of stuff is out there, and unfortunately, in this rate market, and because we have a responsibility to these. To all of the dues-paying members, us included, we got to be very careful of risk. Very careful.
Well, thank you, Bob. I just wanted you to update folks that we're not ignoring the $1 million that needs to be protected. Jack, you've got a background in banking, same as Bob does.
Yes, we're fine.
You guys.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
that was actually part of my email to Mr. Hudson. I wanted response to where they're going with this because it's important. We got to get this money insured, and they were, to be making recommendations. But I say just he was out of the office all day. I didn't get back to him, so I was hoping he'd be able to give us some.
Hey, we have nothing for CPI, right?
No, sir, we do not.
No CPIs this time. Okay, appointments to. We have one appointment of Joe Gentile to the Clubs Committee. Any objections to Joan Gentile or in her application where she refers to her past experience in coordinating and expediting events, doing that kind of and it was signed by
I think
the.
she's a Republican.
It has nothing to do with that. It was signed by Les. So, do I have a motion to accept Joan Gentile?
Moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor?
I'm a Democrat.
Opposed? No. Okay. Joan's in. Media questions. Going once, going twice.
Well, I have a question for Joe. Are you media? Because you're a blogger, are you media? You considered media?
Call me whatever you want.
We'll take
No, I mean,
you can take that offline.
You hurt my feelings.
But I mean, you could speak twice. You could speak as a citizen and media, right?
He has. He speaks all the time. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Anybody want to stay here longer? No. Thank you.